Oh no, you've got it the wrong way round. You put me out. Hello everyone. I hope you're all good. One time today. Hello everyone. On time. I'm a little late. I also didn't even say what time I was streaming today, I don't think. It'll always be around this time though. Might start doing earlier, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm just gonna say that I'm live on fucking hell, why have I got so many oh my god, 3 adverts to get on my stream from my mobile. Insane. How's your Tuesday going so far? My Tuesday is going absolutely fine. No complaints at all. I'm a renewed awake truther. I'm rarely asleep. I don't sleep during the day. Hold on. Hello, everyone. Oh, fuck. Hello everyone, I am live on YouTube for the final time in 2025. I'm going to be covering Trump's Netanyahu summit yesterday and the UAE's escalations with Saudi Arabia. If you want to come in and you're watching on Instagram stories, the link is up here as always, and on TikTok the link is in my bio. Come say hi. That was a good first recording. Right, sorry. Hello everyone. Okay, right, I'm going to get into the Wordle. Okay. Flaunt. Oh, flank I'll do. It's a terrible starting guess, but we move. Okay. I'm going to... Ooh. Smite. That's a nice guess. I only have an E. Hello, everyone. Hello, Silent Scythe. Hello, Shakespeare. Hello, Elab. Ugh. Right. I'm just going to post the... I haven't posted in ages on TikTok. I'm going to have to do that soon. Sorry. Right. Smite. I haven't got a single one. It's not Chode. Very disappointing. Oh, yeah, it wouldn't have been Chode because the E's not last. And yeah, I'll pin the link. Sure. There we go. It's Tuesday, innit? Yeah, it is. Sorry, I'm feeling really out of it right now. I don't know why. I need a little pick-me-up. I need to drink my cup of tea. I'm trying to think of anything that it could be. I really can't think of anything that it can be. Throughout the live. I mean, I think the thing is I think people can donate to people can see the pinned link, but yeah, sure, I can mention it. Drewy? No. Drew. I really can't think. Drek? I really can't think of what this is. Drench? I can't really think at all what this is. I can't think at all what this is. I really don't know. There's an... Doers. I'm going to go for... Dior? I actually really don't know what this is. I really don't know what this is. I've already forgotten what it was. Yeah, that's always the problem that ends up with me. I really, even once I've done it, ebbed. It's not ebbed, it begins with a D. Drago, Dago, Drepo. What can it be? Drove. Oh, it is that. No, it's not. It couldn't be E at the end actually, but okay. So it's not an O. It's not that. So is it that D? Drone. No, it can't be drone. DeRoy? D-Rog? Dower? Maybe it is Dower. Oh. No, wait, it couldn't have been that. But at least we know it ends with an E now. Right, so the E... So, sorry, it doesn't end with an E, it ends with an R. So it's DX something OR, I think it is. Oh, it's decor. Well done. I really couldn't get that one. Right, we're going to do the connections now. That one was frustrating me. It took me all 6 goes. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Doesn't feel like that should be how you spell decor. Surprisingly, it's not DXR. I thought it might be DXR today, but unfortunately, yeah, it's not DXR. Okay, right. Clock, bell. Saved by the bell, saved by the clock. Touchdown, basket, goal. And there's probably another one here that's like that. Oh. Point? Things that you score? No. Is it actually called a basket? When you score in basketball? What is it called? And yeah. We eventually got there. God, I don't know why I'm feeling... ruler... Compass. It's point stuff. Aim, point, compass. Aim, point. The thing is I didn't even get 3 when I did that. But is it called a basket? Did someone say yes to that? Yeah, I mean... MBS and MBZ fighting. It's been brewing for a while, but it was pretty explosive today. Well, apparently it's not touchdown, basket, goal, and rack. Apparently that's not it. Goal, aim, point, and I think there might be another one of these. Scale? I don't know. Object? Yeah, okay. Intention. Clock, ruler, scale, clock, compass. I think you're right about that, actually. Nice. Measuring devices, very good. Climb, takeoff, taxi. Then there's one more, touchdown. These are all plain terms. And then basket, bell, reflector, rack. I don't know what these are. Bike accessories. Wouldn't have got that. That wasn't actually that bad. I did a lot better on that than I did on anything else. It wasn't surprisingly basket, bell, touchdown, or point. Spelling bee, my favourite now. Piggy? Apparently that's not a word. That's not how you spell. It's not got an E. There's no N, but I keep going for that. I keep trying to go for dogpile. That is a good one. Oh, Henry, what an amazing. Wow, even better, dogpiled. Wow, that was all we were allowed to do for the day. Oh my goodness, quiet piggy. Yeah, I mean that's what it made me think of. All right, I guess we'll just get straight into the stuff I wanted to cover today. There is one story. Actually, wait. There's one amazing thing that I wanted to cover at the start. Have any of you seen what Eric Adams' new plan is for now? He's out. He's no longer the mayor of New York. This is truly innovation at the highest level.
Go there. That's part of what I want to do.
Oh shit.
Go.
Hold on. I'll have to use my look. I'm using my volume master.
There. That's part of what I want to do when I leave office. I want to use technology, as I always have, to improve the lives of New Yorkers. But I want to use the blockchain technology to go after anti-Semitism and hate and educate our children. Go there. That's
amazing. He plans to use blockchain to go after anti-Semitism and hate, educating children on the internet. What would that even conceivably be? What would that actually plausibly be? I really just am perplexed. Like, what could you use the blockchain for doing that? Surely someone in here must understand computers enough to explain that. Or maybe he's just thinking on a higher plane than any of us. Did you get the video speed extension? No, I didn't actually. I didn't even know that was a thing. Well, but theoretically, what could you use the blockchain for? Hello from Iran. Salam az Ingilistan. Crazy things happening in Iran recently. I heard your inflation's getting bad. But yeah, I'm very, very intrigued by what the hell he's talking about. But it remains to be seen what will be the outcome there. I really have no idea. I really have no idea of what's going to happen there. Brilliant things. It seems rather ridiculous that he wasn't elected. There's also, in somewhat interesting UK news, but news that I don't think is that significant, Reform are down, apparently. Reform UK are polling downwards, which is interesting. You kind of use the blockchain for anything. Well, I can use anything as anything, pretty much. Like, obviously, there are some limits to that, but you can use anything as like a cup, no, like a place to rest your cup, right? Within reason. I actually wanted to see if I can find this. So the Independent is the only place that's reporting on this. There has apparently been a drop in polling. Oh, wait. YouGov. Reform polling. It's actually a pretty significant drop. YouGov. Right. Oh no, they've never had them as high as I thought they had. Okay, we'll just go back to the Independent then. Apparently, a recent YouGov poll conducted in late December revealed that Reform UK's lead has dropped from 10 to 5 points, with their vote share falling by 3 points to 25%, its lowest in over 6 months. Both the Labour Party and Conservatives saw a 2-point increase in support. So Labour is apparently at 20%. And 19% for the Conservatives. The reason I'm not so necessarily excited by it is that basically it doesn't really do anything positive, because what's going to happen? Labour Party wins, more of the same misery. Conservative Party more likely makes some kind of alliance with Reform, and it just ends up being a horrible right-wing government that we get under Labour anyway. And yeah, you are right. I saw someone talking about this. They were kind of like, Farage is the front man. I haven't seen much from Nigel Farage recently. It also probably doesn't help that the people like Farage in the UK, I mean, Trump has this problem as well, but a lot of like establishment right-wing politicians are way too closely connected to Israel. Like, it is just an issue. Like, I'm sorry, I think that there's a growing rejection of Israel in Western society, and also Nigel Farage just having an obsession with the UAE is dog shit. Like, there's a guy in Nigel... Hold on. Richard Tice is, like, absolutely obsessed with the UAE. In ArabianBusiness.com, the UK must emulate the UAE or go bust. Ugh, Jesus Christ. Like, this just being the point that we're reaching. That, you know, the like, UAE... I mean, already everyone's a fucking UAE shill in UK politics. But just Nigel Farage is the most blatant UAE shill of them all. But this is actually crazy that Reform peaked at 32%. But what I will say is that it's also kind of indicative of why making bold and grandiose predictions about the next election is kind of foolish when there's already this problem of Farage isn't just going to openly enunciate like a lot of the policies that certain people want of just extreme racism. He's not going to talk openly about remigration and all of this stuff, but it remains to be seen. Shadow Love is right. Nigel Farage stinks. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a really real top guy who does great things. With the Greens, though, unclear of how much impact Greens would have on a coalition with Labour. Likely not much. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if what has Polanski even said about that? I remember seeing a video, but I don't recall what he actually said. Okay, you know what? We can just get we can get right into the news, which the main news, which I thought I wasn't going to report on, is Trump talking to Netanyahu. There's an interesting hot mic moment here.
But to both of them, I said, we're going to cut you off. No more trade. Then I put 200% tariffs on. The next day they called. We looked. 35 years of fighting, and they stopped. Do I get credit for it? No.
He's such a whiny baby. By the way, there is like genuine upset from him over not winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, he is actually really upset about it. He had this high expectation that he was gonna win the election, win the Nobel Peace Prize, but then obviously he didn't.
They gave them. I did 8 of them. India. How about India and Pakistan? And then so I did 8 of them. And then I'll tell you the rest of it. How are you doing? Okay? You gonna all be outside, the beautiful sun?
This is Stephen Miller looks absolutely depressed. Jared Kushner is very strange looking as well. And I spoke a bit about the Egyptian activists yesterday. I mean, it's not something that I've looked into that much, but yeah, I mean, it seems like look, he had said some pretty fucking outrageous things, but they were like 15 years ago, and I don't think that means that anyone should be being deported to just be tortured in Sisi's torture dungeons. But the bigger problem is like, we're bringing back a political activist from one of our allies who mass tortures and abuses their own population.
Good. Enjoy your lunch. It's a very good group. We've made a lot of progress already. We had about a 5-minute meeting, and we've already settled about 3 of the difficulties. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's kind of crazy, because how old is Netanyahu? Netanyahu is 76 and Trump is, 79? Netanyahu has like a load of health problems. I think Netanyahu actually has a pacemaker. And he also had the surgery for the enlarged prostate. But, I mean, it's kind of amazing that he is so much more
Thank you very much, everybody.
Coherent than Trump is, 3 years younger. But obviously Trump is terrible because he is someone who is very unhealthy. Netanyahu may look like shit, but even speaking in English, what is Netanyahu's first language, actually? Is his first language Hebrew? Because, I mean, he's young enough to have been... Was he born in Israel? Someone said he was born in... No, he was born in Tel Aviv and raised in West Jerusalem and the United States. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not really a second language at that point. He's more bilingual. But I assume he would have grown up first speaking... Actually, I don't even know. His family are from... Lithuania, so and his father is from Warsaw, so I don't know what he grew up speaking. Maybe it was Hebrew, but I don't know. Maybe it was English. I'm not actually sure. But anyway, he seems a lot more coherent in English than Donald Trump does at times now. He's from Philly. Yeah, I mean, he has like a straight up Philly a Philly accent, and I don't know whether. Does he still have a pacemaker? I don't know if an EMP affects pacemakers. He had it fitted in 2023, but he has like heart problems and stuff that he's much more open about than Trump. So it is probably indicative of the fact that Trump has dementia. But anyway, this summit really produced some interesting commentary. Although I think there is something to be said of it didn't seem as close as they were.
Will you support an attack? Israeli attack on Iran if Iran will not have a deal, if Iran will continue with their ballistic missiles and also nuclear weapons.
If they will continue with the missiles, yes. The nuclear, fast.
Amazing. I'm glad to hear that the US is just willing to get involved in attacking Iran. And also, by the way, why is Iran not allowed ballistic missiles? Because this is kind of like the thing about Hamas having all these tunnels, right, and spending their money on building tunnels. People make the argument that Israel is allowed to have whatever and do whatever because it's under threat. But looking at Gaza, Israel is the one who's decimated it over and over again, who continually maintains an illegal occupation of it, and Israel and America are countries who continually interfere in other countries' politics. So why on earth shouldn't these countries be allowed to have like deterrence against the US? Brigitte Bardot died at the age of 91. Awful people tend to live longer. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know much about her, but looking at who she was not a very pleasant person. Bibby looks worse each time I see him. The curses seem to be working. Does he really look that much worse? I mean, he's an old man. At least he's not like Trump covering himself with a wig. I mean, I'm not offering any support of him, but, you know, at least he's not Trump, wearing a wig and fake tan to prevent himself looking like a very, very creepy bald man. But yeah, both awful guys, both very, very awful characters. I'm seeing all some of the emotes courtesy of Silent Scythe, and I'm greatly appreciating them. I wish that one of you told me that I could just upload the Bongo Cat GIF and it would work, but it didn't. Like, it is a GIF, what that technically is, but it doesn't really work. But yeah, he's a very unpleasant individual, obviously, but he definitely does look better than Trump, especially with how much makeup Trump has to have. There were just some incredible moments of dick sucking.
The importance of a strong relationship with the state of Israel. And Mr. Prime Minister, you called President Trump the strongest friend for the state of Israel. You worked with numerous administrations, numerous presidents. Can you expound on that? What makes President Trump such a strong friend for the state of Israel?
Why don't you go first? I'll
say it again and again and again.
It's kind of funny because that person just asked Netanyahu a question and Trump goes, you answer the question, even though Netanyahu was the one being asked.
We've never had a friend like President Trump in the White House. It's not even close. And I think you can judge that by not merely by the frequency of our meetings, but by the content and the intensity. I think Israel...
This meeting was largely without content, though.
...is very blessed to have President Trump leading the United States, and I'll say leading the free world at this time. I think it's not merely Israel's great fortune. I think it's the world's great fortune.
Well, I just want to say that it's very important who the Prime Minister and President of Israel is.
I swear the president of Israel basically just doesn't really matter all that much at all.
We have a great relationship. It was an honor to speak before your leaders. That was a great honor for me. I think it had not happened before, or something they told me. But the relationship
Wait. Look at Netanyahu's face.
happened before, or something they told me. But the relationship's been extraordinary, and Bibi's a strong man. He can be very difficult on occasion, but you need a strong man. If you had a weak man, you wouldn't have Israel right now. Israel would have been, Israel with most other leaders would not exist today.
The funny thing is, though, is Netanyahu is taking Israel more and more towards the path of not existing. But, both of these people are.
They would not exist. And now they're stronger than ever.
I realise you like me covering his face, but I probably shouldn't for the video if this gets made into one.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, we had some real great content out of this. We'll actually watch what they were talking about because there were just some amazing straight up lies. And it's really funny because there are a lot of people who are like pro-Democrat who respond to some of the lies. And it's just like, yes, obviously these are lies, but it doesn't really matter, like the context of them being about Democrats. But this one is so funny. The damage these two have done to the world and to their own countries is catastrophic. Like, yeah, I mean, of course Netanyahu has done damage to Israel, but he's just following the logic of Zionism. And these two specifically, I feel like this Midas account, Touch account, is like isn't Midas Touch pro like Democrat? Because Biden also did a huge amount of damage, and when you only see that when it comes from a Republican, it's kind of a bit of a problem. Hope you have a great year ahead. Thank you, Pokiraj, and yes, it is a great community. I'm eternally grateful.
Mr. President, can you guarantee that the last hostages and Philip will be released before we continue to the second phase of the Gaza plan?
Well, let's put it this way. Every hostage just about that's been released was released because of me, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, my whole team, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth. They were all released because of us. None were released in the Biden administration. None.
That's really funny because obviously a huge amount were actually released during the Biden administration. Midas.
They were all released because of us. Then we had a lack of releases with respect to the dead. And all of a sudden they started coming back because I said, nope, you said you were going to. We have one wonderful.
It is Midas, isn't it? Midas.
Young man whose parents are right now inside. And he's what beautiful parents, a beautiful brother, sister, and like a beautiful family, and they're waiting for their son. It's the only one left, and we're doing everything we can to get his body back. And the parents just said, hopefully he's alive. And I said, I'd love you to think that way. Okay?
President,
I swear the guy is confirmed dead, right? Like, what even is this?
Doing everything we can.
do you have President Trump? Does the
Out of all of these people, and I'm not just talking about the final 20.
Right.
Look at all of the people. What do you think the total number is?
255.
255.
254 came out, one more.
Think of that. And we got them all.
President Trump.
It is amazing. It is truly amazing. It's just not true. That is entirely made up. No props to the Biden administration because they could have got out huge amounts of Israeli hostages and prevented Israel's genocide in Gaza, but they didn't, which is why I balk at these Democrat accounts. But yeah.
What about the pardon that the president
Oh my God.
of Israel
Some of these are annoying in the sense of like they're too quiet with that bit, but
needs to give the prime minister
A pardon?
a pardon?
Oh, I think he will. How do you not? He's a wartime prime minister who's a hero. How do you not give a pardon, you know?
it is also kind of funny that there are still people who pretend that like Israel has just started puppeteering America and that like previously America was good and stuff. And it's like, Okay, how did you not notice previously when Trump was violating international law to do everything that Miriam Adelson and Netanyahu requested of him?
I think it's a very hard thing not to do it. I spoke to the president, and it's on. I mean, he tells me it's on its way.
You say that they've got matching fits, but right now there is someone in the world who is upset that Trump is not wearing a hostage pin. There is an Israeli person right now having a meltdown over Trump's lack of it.
Mr. President, you can't do better than that, right? Please.
Mr. President, can I follow up on Venezuela? Was the facility taken out by the U.S. military?
There's one more of these, and then we're actually onto the thing. Oh, yeah. Trump had an amazing statement about Gaza.
President Trump, does the reconstruction of Gaza... President Trump, does the reconstruction of Gaza... Does the reconstruction of Gaza will begin even before Hamas is disarmed?
I think it's going to begin pretty soon, yeah.
Before Hamas
He's looking forward to it, so am I. Look, what a mess. What a mess it is. And it's been a mess for centuries, really. It's been a mess for a long time.
Obviously, Gaza was not a mess for centuries.
It's seems to be born for that, but we're gonna straighten it out. No, we're already starting certain things. We're doing things for sanitary conditions and others. But Gaza's a tough place. You know the expression, it's a tough neighborhood. That's truly a tough neighborhood. Yeah, you had a question in the back? Go ahead.
Also, why the hell is this at Mar-a-Lago? Like, why is it not at the White House? Very interesting from Trump there. But yeah, the Trump Netanyahu summit was truly incredible. Let's get into them actually answering questions together.
To the essence of things, and I don't say that as a compliment. I just mean it. People have heard me say that behind your back, Mr. President, many times. But I want to say something else. I
am impressed by the level of, like, mutual dick riding that goes on between the two of them. Benjamin Netanyahu has made the realization, alongside many others, that if you just inflate Trump's ego, he will do whatever you ask of him
have a partnership
and give him money.
If I can quote you, second to none. I think it's allowed us to do enormous things. You know, people said there was a different conception at one time, which means that America can advance its interest in the Middle East if it opens a lot of daylight between it and Israel. And President Trump has done the exact opposite.
It is also very obvious that they can actually open and like make a lot of progress in the Middle East if they didn't just rely on maintaining their relationship with Israel.
He's achieved remarkable things in the Middle East because we work together. We talk about our ideas. Sometimes we have different ideas, but we work it out. And most of the time we see eye to eye. But it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting. And may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're with you, and we'll continue to.
Also, imagine how Joe Biden is feeling right now. I mean, if Joe Biden is even semi-cognizant, he must be so upset. He gave everything to Israel unequivocally, and he got nothing in return. Netanyahu doesn't even recognize all of the things that he did for them. He literally spread the beheaded babies lie and like, just straight up blood libel against Palestinians. That's what blood libel is, by the way, to facilitate the mass extermination of innocent people. Joe Biden did that shit. He didn't. His red lines were totally meaningless.
Be with you, and a lot of good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way. And you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel. It's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Oh yeah, Trump also got the Israel Peace Prize.
President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli.
He said that they created a new one. I've never heard of the Israel Prize before. Okay, so it is genuinely a real thing. But he is the... Okay, so yeah, basically this is a new thing. Winning the Israel Prize is an awful thing. It would be a single category of... Okay, so it was given to people who engaged in civil heroism, basically. And they didn't give it last year because they didn't want to give it to some guy whose daughter was murdered by Hamas and was probably against Israel. I don't know, in some capacity, or was upset with Israel and the government. But yeah, Donald Trump won it. Amazing. Winning the Israel Peace Prize it's a huge misnomer. I prefer this is just a really funny genre and development of things going on with Trump. Like, people just inventing prizes to give to him, or like modifying peace prizes so they can be given to him to just feed his ego. Do you think that this is like a new dementia thing, or was he like I don't doubt that he had like this huge ego during his first presidency, but simultaneously this is kind of crazy that he, you know, that this is like, that this is what happened, that this is now just something that's going on, that they're just continually giving these things. Starmer won Zionist of the Year. Yeah, it's kind of funny, like, Keir Starmer, because he recognized Palestine, is viewed as like an evil anti-Semite by Netanyahu and his ilk. But like, realistically, Keir Starmer is doing so much for Israel too. Where's his prize?
And we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch.
But it is like, genuinely, it feels like something that a child would expect, you know, a prize for everything. It just doesn't really feel normal. I mean, that's pretty obvious that it doesn't feel normal. Nothing is normal about Donald Trump or his presidency or anything going on in the US. But simultaneously, it's just like really unusual.
Our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize, is going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people.
Also, for the Republican base of Donald Trump, how is this a good idea? Like, who is letting this shit still happen? Like, they could maintain the same situation as Israel, while simultaneously pretending to put some pressure on them. Netanyahu could even tell Trump, yeah, that might be a good idea to, you know, get your base back together. But instead, Israel is like, we're giving you a prize. Trump is still like, meat glazing this guy. You know, glazing up the meat to an incredible level. Like, why? It's so bad for Trump's own electorate. Like, so many people have turned against Israel and are split against it.
I think it's such a fitting thing. And it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion, on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help.
They genuinely should have given it to Charlie Kirk. And that's actually just me talking fair.
Our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because pretty much we agree on most of the things, and you would know what most of those things are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas, and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm. And we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side. But if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But
it's also, like, what is going on? Because Hamas aren't going to disarm. They've reconstituted power. But, you know, it's pretty evident that Trump wants to move forward. But what? Will Israel just be allowed to do mass ethnic cleansing? It's kind of obvious that their other plans aren't working too well. And all of these other things, their plans to set up the gangs in Gaza are totally failing. So what's going to happen? Like, I'm sorry, when are they going to disarm? The more I look at Bibi, the more turtle he looks like. Like from that video with the turtle trying to pass obstacles and getting mad. He has a very strange neck, you're right. In a way, it did go to Charlie Kirk, since we are all Charlie Kirk. I mean, that's true, yes. Trump, everyone in this room is Charlie Kirk.
they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
Is Israel withdrawing its forces?
Well, that's a separate subject. We'll talk about that.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, did you have a message for the Prime Minister about the West Bank? And are you at all concerned that Israeli settler violence, could be undermining the peace plan? That you
Well, we have had a discussion, big discussion, for a long time on the West Bank, and I wouldn't say we agree on the West Bank 100%, but we will come to a conclusion on the West Bank.
There's no strong answer. That's like a pretty weak answer from Donald Trump. Like, one would have thought that they would have moved more towards the Israeli annexationist position, especially even using the term Judea and Samaria. Like, a lot of people around Trump, like Huckabee, refer to it as Judea and Samaria as a justification for Israel taking it. My goodness, sorry, I just searched Judea and Samaria quickly. The UK Lawyers for Israel Trust, charitable trust, which is a charity that just hounds pro-Palestinian activists and really anyone it can get its hands on, has a new video discussing the legal status of the West Bank and the settlements there. Of course they're illegal. This is an agreed upon position. But this woman is regularly treated like a reasonable contributor on Palestine. Oh, actually, just her entire thing is like she'll be on like British news institutions. People should make the realization that that's all these are. So many of these British institutions like Talk TV are literally just propaganda for the Israeli state. I mean, she is a repugnant individual, truly. And also, this term is not like the term Judea and Samaria is not even what Israel used to call it. This is literally a right-wing religious zealot development in the West as a name for the West Bank.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube. This is Talk.
What the fuck? I mean, I'm not going to watch that, but what the hell? Why is it such like a sexual introduction?
I could ask, what is the disagreement?
Well, I don't want to do that. It'll be announced at an appropriate time. But he will do the right thing. I know that. I know him very well. He will do the right thing. Yes.
There is a
Why didn't he even let Netanyahu speak there? Really odd.
strong fear of a confrontation between Israel and Turkey. How are you going to ease this tension given the fact that President Erdogan called...
No, Judea and Samaria is the biblical term for the West Bank. It's actually thought to be where the Kingdom of Israel really was. But it was kind of just a term that wasn't going to be used by the early Zionists, because what they wanted, or largely saw as like a viable option, was creating a Palestine that was part of Transjordan. But obviously Palestinians never wanted that. Israel was obsessed with the idea for ages, and the King of Jordan obviously had interest in that. Previous kings of Jordan had interest in it, but Palestinians never wanted it.
Mr. Netanyahu, Hitler, and compares Israel to the Nazis.
Well, I know President Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him, and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to...
That doesn't really make sense. I also love this thing. Trump has really developed just a desire to say over and over again that he stands with completely with sorry, yes, the Kingdom of Judea. That's where the Kingdom of Judea was. Sorry, that he stands with like Netanyahu unequivocally, and he also keeps on saying this thing of, Turkey took out Assad. He says it here.
Gonna happen. Yes.
Mr. President, are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going.
This is actually the really funny thing. You know, all of these people who complain about Obama's nuclear deal with Iran, right? Obama's nuclear deal with Iran would have had total control over enriched uranium. They would have known where it went, what it was, how it existed, and all of this stuff. But when it comes to what they currently have, they don't know. Do you remember when they kept saying, the enriched uranium is destroyed, and then they basically admitted, we don't know where it's gone? Iran has other nuclear sites than the ones that were attacked by the US and Israel. It's categorically true that they do. And also, do you remember that there was all the satellite imagery of the trucks potentially moving the uranium out of the area?
What they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it, because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
Mr. President Trump, after your last remarks regarding the pardon request of Prime Minister Netanyahu, Herzog office told us that you have not talked after the official request of Prime Minister Netanyahu pardon. Can you clarify to us, did you talk about it?
Which request are you talking about?
With the President Herzog, the Israeli President Herzog. Did you talk with him?
It's actually an interesting point you made, Lemon Mint Cat. Obama's nuclear deal would have made normalizing with Iran way easier, but Israel really, really is hell-bent on expansion. Yeah, and also, I mean, I watched, one of you mention it, the Propaganda and Co video that kind of Pax Judea is what they call it, but they're kind of Israel controls America. There are also just a lot of Iran hawks, many of whom are pro-Israel, but also just don't think that America should have any semblance of a relationship at all with Iran.
President Erdogan?
Herzog. The Israeli President
so you're talking about pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you got to say that. No, I think he's going to be in great shape. He's a wartime prime minister at the highest level. He's achieved tremendous success. And I'll say it, if you had 8 out of 10 prime ministers in his position right now, or before right now, maybe, you wouldn't have Israel any longer. Israel would not exist. I'd say two of them would, and 8 of them wouldn't. Those are not good odds. You needed a very special man to really carry through and really help Israel through this horrible jam. These are major factions, and it started with our negotiation with Iran. I think it probably started with...
It's 4 p.m. Eastern here in New York. Let's take you back to Florida, where President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are taking questions.
But it started right there, would probably be the starting point. And then from that point forward, but you have a wartime prime minister at the highest level. There could be other wartime prime ministers, but they'd lose. He won. And I think the people of Israel appreciate it. I think a lot of the people in the world appreciate it, actually. And because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East.
I also don't think, it's undeniable that they have, got way, that Netanyahu has served to ruin the reputation of Israel more than many other Israeli prime ministers have. It's kind of a Likud thing. Menachem Begin did it with the invasion of Lebanon, and Netanyahu's general conduct around Gaza is ruining the reputation. The brazen nature of his own corruption ruins his reputation with the Israeli people, and also the settlement movement just being so brazen and so extremely racist right now has actually caused them many major issues, and especially will long term, that they just have so many Israeli high-level politicians who have just straight up called for the genocide of the Palestinian people. That is a really bad idea to have, because it will obviously be used against you in the courts.
If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister. That's a big statement, but to me, it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding. If they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now.
Also, by the way, the biggest threat to Israel was weathered under the Biden administration, right? October the 7th. Well, it's just not true what he's saying.
And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot.
Trump equals Michaela, Bibi equals Radon, Iron Dome. It's simple, really. Thank you for that brilliant Elden Ring related comment.
Respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word, but I believe you would not have Israel right now. So it's a big.
This is a real rambling answer. What time did it start? Wait. Let me just have a look. It's probably just before here. Oh, it doesn't have the time up in the corner.
Deal. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, a recent poll showed that as many as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans should be.
I heard that number today. Half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if they were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, they would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of Gaza a lot. So is Israel, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But I saw that.
It is grotesque hearing their potential plans for ethnic cleansing. This has been reported over and over again. It's actually seemingly an old number from the 6th of May, 2025. I'd be interested to know what they would, what the actual number is. But apparently 56% said on the 10th of May that they were not willing to emigrate.
It was a poll. It was actually more than half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity. And I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting.
Also, by the way, people wanting to leave a place that you have completely decimated and destroyed is not just people wanting to leave. That's ethnic cleansing.
Countries accept them.
Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now, we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that, the group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity. But they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
What is the place doing the poll? It would be good to know.
And have you reached a point of understanding regarding Syria?
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, your new president I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy.
To be clear, this guy was the former leader of the Nusra Front, like Al-Qaeda, Islamic State in Syria. Like, he's not some good or moral individual.
We get along with him great.
He's a bad guy, but describing him as not a choir boy is pretty funny. And also, on the topic of Somaliland's population doesn't want to take 1.5 million Palestinian refugees. Largely, what these groups are trying to do, what these secessionist states are trying to say is, they will basically join the Abraham Accords. That's what it is. Like, that's what it is. They are joining the Abraham Accords. That's their main selling point.
I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. He was fighting them. So I hope Israel.
Wait, what?
I'm sure, strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. He was fighting them. So I hope Israel. I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along.
Also, why the hell can't he, this is a point where you might want to hear what Netanyahu has to say, because Trump is clearly showing a major divergence from Netanyahu. No, he's talking about now, which obviously he is fighting against the Islamic State now.
I think
he also broke away from the Islamic State because he wouldn't maintain some of their more extreme principles like a long time ago.
Well,
but there are many people around him who, yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists. We don't have attacks.
Also, why is Trump just stood around spinning? Sorry, can we just go back a second?
Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists. We don't have attacks. And we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Druze, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa.
Also, very obvious that Israel mistreats Christian communities inside Israel. It's not treating them well. This is a well-known fact. I don't think it even requires stating. But, it's not really an answer. And can the Somaliland government even handle an influx of that many people? I feel the US and UK would have an incredibly time handling that. No, of course Somaliland wouldn't be able to handle that. And by the way, pouring in huge amounts of Palestinian refugees who've just experienced Israeli genocide and putting them in an area where there is rising Islamic extremist militancy of groups that are far more extreme than Hamas, like Al-Shabaab and stuff, and also putting them across from the Houthis is not really a good idea. I don't think there's as much of a guarantee of the visions and fantasies of the UAE and Israel as they really think is going to happen. So importing 1.5 million Palestinians, what would you even do? They couldn't be included in a democracy because they would alter the democracy of Somaliland way too much to have that many people. So I think sometimes people get ahead of what they're the 1.5 million Palestinians going over there.
Too. And we stand for the same thing.
And don't forget, it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan.
It is utterly ridiculous.
And he never wanted the credit for it, but he
This is also insane. I don't know why he keeps saying this publicly. Maybe I just haven't read enough about, like, I know that Turkey had an interest in Assad going and establishing someone who was sympathetic to them. They wanted to sell a huge amount of Turkish military equipment. Basically, by the way, one of the main things for Turkey is that since 2000, Turkey has been increasing its production of military hardware by a vast amount, and a place where they can sell a huge amount of that is very near it in Syria. And so obviously a more sympathetic regime in Syria, one ruled by someone who has some kind of major loyalty and owes a lot of their credibility and power to Turkey, is gonna be taking huge defense deals which help to boost the Turkish economy, which is flailed at times. But why Trump just openly states, as by the way, the Prime Minister of the United States, however insane he may be, he is the Prime Minister, the President of the United States. Why he is ever just openly stating over and over again that, Erdogan took down Assad and he doesn't take the credit for it is insane to me. Kazakhstan joined the Abraham Accords. I don't know why. It'll have been for, I don't know what benefit they'll have got out of it. But if you look at why countries want to join the Abraham Accords, especially now, the Gulf countries were all pretty interested in surveillance technology. Saudi Arabia did it as a means to, like, kind of test the waters in the case of Bahrain. Bahrain would not have joined the Abraham Accords without Saudi approval, by the way. Then you have, like, Morocco, which literally joined for recognition of the Western Sahara, its sovereignty over it. You have Somaliland, who will probably join for US recognition of Somaliland. And also then you have, like, southern Yemen, the STC are floating it currently as well. So it's always just for some benefit.
Really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with, I know it. And President Erdogan should get a lot of good credit for what he did. He got rid of some very bad people. And they've been wanting to do that for 1,000 years with different names, but for 1,000 years in Syria. President Erdogan did it, and we give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. But I think it's going to work out well between Syria and Israel.
By the way, I just wanted to also show you Netanyahu's face during some of this, because I kind of missed it because I was talking about other things.
That helped very much get rid of a very bad
area right next to us and around the world.
Get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with, I know it. And
this is kind of humiliating for Netanyahu, by the way. Like, I don't think there's this major rift opening between the two of them, but, like, this is humiliating. Him saying, this is, he really agrees with me. And you asked, is Sudan part of it? Yes. And Sudanese people don't want to be part of the Abraham Accords. But guess who does want to be part of the Abraham Accords? The RSF. The RSF are the people who are, like, in love with the concept of the Abraham Accords. Like, Hamedati released like a pro, hold on, let me see if I can find it. I really want to find this. Hamedati released like a pro statement of being in the Abraham Accords. Like, he loved the thought of doing it. Where is this? But anyway, I can't find it. But yeah, he likes it.
President Erdogan should get a lot of good credit for what he did. He got rid of some very bad people. And, they've been wanting to do that for 1,000 years with different names, but for 1,000 years in Syria. President Erdogan did it, and we give him a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. But I think it's going to work out well between Syria and Israel.
Mr. President, about Lebanon.
Go ahead, please.
The Lebanese government, so what we saw, is not meeting the terms of the ceasefire agreement, has failed to disarm Hezbollah, actually.
By the way, there's absolutely no indication of any of this. Hello, Qatar. Good to see you as always.
Israel strike the terrorist organization again.
Well, we're going to see about that. We'll see about it. The Lebanese government is at a little bit of a disadvantage, if you think of it, with Hezbollah. But Hezbollah has been behaving badly, so we'll see what happens.
How close are we to another operation of Israel in Iran? You said before the meeting with Netanyahu that you are in support of Israel if the ballistic missile project will take on, and also the nuclear weapon. But after the meeting, after what you know from the intelligence, how close are we to another war with Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that, but Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed, but if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful, maybe more powerful than the last time. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Hezbollah behaving badly, but realistically, anyone with half a brain knows that it's obviously Israel behaving badly in the context of Lebanon. It's Israel behaving badly in the context of everything. They're the ones who carried out an assassination. Do you remember when they just carried out assassinations at the Iranian embassy in Syria? And apparently that was just okay to the international community.
And Iran should have made a deal the last time. I gave them the option. I said, you can make a deal. Do it. I told them, do it. And they didn't believe me. Now they believe me.
Do you have evidence that Iran is behaving badly, and what do you mean by that?
This is just what we hear. But usually, where there's smoke, there's fire. Have you heard the expression?
But what do you mean related?
It's kind of amazing just not saying, not giving your evidence. Trump knows how to behave badly. Yeah, he learns it from the best, Jeffrey Epstein.
To the nuclear capability?
Well, no, I'm hearing that they're not nuclear yet, but maybe nuclear too. The sites were obliterated, but they're looking at other sites. That's what I've heard. They're looking. So it'll take a long time. They're not going to go back to where they were, but they have other places they can go. And if they're doing that, they're making a big mistake. Yeah, please. There's no reason for them to do it.
Mr. President.
Yeah, just what we hear is truly extraordinary.
Is the United States currently open to engage?
Also, by the way, Akil, it's a very funny expression to use just in terms of where there's smoke, there's fire. Having it, because you're right, it would apply very well to Trump's relationship with, Jeffrey Epstein.
In bilateral discussions with Tehran, we're hearing reports from numerous countries that there may be some discussions. Is that something you would support, or something that is happening?
Would.
You would support that?
I would, yes.
Right now. Thank you, sir.
I have been, by the way, before the war, I would support that. I said to him, baby, I said, let's negotiate. And they didn't believe what was going to happen would happen. Yes, ma'am.
On China. So China's been doing naval exercises basically to test encircling Taiwan. Can you explain to us what your knowledge is of that? What do you think about that? Have you had any discussions with China?
Well, I have a great relationship with President Xi, and he hasn't told me anything about it. I certainly have seen it, but he hasn't told me anything about it. And I don't believe he's going to be doing it.
There are some really, really, really amazing comments on here. Just this about how he's talking about how he doesn't believe that China's going to do it as they're doing military exercises outside Taiwan.
No, nothing worries me.
But
nothing.
You said where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if you're if you're doing naval exercises and air exercises.
Well, they've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Now people take it a little bit differently, but in fact larger than they're doing right now. So we'll see. But they've been doing that for 20, 25 years. Yeah.
Mr. President, if you don't see Hamas disarm in that short amount of time they're giving them, can you tell us what the next steps would be?
It'll be horrible for them. Horrible. It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I don't want that to happen. But they made an agreement that they were going to disarm. And you couldn't blame Israel. By the way, we have other countries that will come in and do it. They said, let us do it for you.
It really does amaze me that there are hundreds upon hundreds of people who are hundreds of thousands of people who still believe this rhetoric, that still will try and sell you this notion that Israel, doesn't violate ceasefires. But the main thing working against Israel this time is people have seen Israel kill hundreds of Palestinians during a supposed ceasefire. So the whole notion that Israel keeps ceasefires and Hamas doesn't is ridiculous.
If they don't, countries that were with them wanted the deal to be made, agreed that they would disarm, and now if they say they're going to disarm, that's fine. If they say they're not going to disarm, those same countries will go and wipe them out. They don't even need Israel. We have many countries.
By the way, all of those countries have said that they won't do that. That is categorically untrue. Like Jordan spoke about how they wanted no involvement in that kind of thing. None of these countries who want to be involved will get involved if that's what they have to do.
There's 59 countries that are in agreement. This is a real peace in the Middle East. And Hamas is a small part of it, but it's still a part of it. But we have 59 countries that signed on, big countries that are outside of the Middle East, as you know the Middle East. They want to go in and wipe out Hamas. They don't want Israel. They don't need Israel. They want to do it because it's the right thing to do, because they were for the deal based on the fact that Hamas pledged, they swore that they were going to disarm. Now, if they're not going to disarm, those same countries will wipe out Hamas. Yeah.
President Trump, do you think that the PA should be involved the day after in Gaza Strip, even in the near future? And the same question to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you see a real opportunity that the PA will be in Gaza?
Go ahead, Mimi.
I think President Trump put clearly the conditions of reform that he wants to see in the PA for them to be involved. And I think he put it very clearly what he wants to see, the kind of real reforms, not just perfunctory reforms, but real reforms. Stop pay to slay, change the curriculum in your textbooks.
By the way, the curriculum in the textbooks thing is bullshit. The supporting families of people who engage in attacks against Israelis, relative to the fact that all Israelis receive benefits their entire life, whatever crime they commit against Palestinians is so minor. And anyone who claims and purports to like the two-state solution and to be a liberal who focuses on that are genuinely insane. The concept of pay for slay is so ridiculous when in Israel, the entire society is premised on pay for slay.
Open up, a different society and a different future. If they do it, well, let them. I think it was clear. He put
pretty clear. He put
guidelines that were, by the way, in the Trump plan of 2020, and they.
Also, I'm seeing your commentary about Kurdistan. I believe Kurdish people should have the right to be Kurdish, and unfortunately, they have been denied that over and over again in the countries in which they live in. They are marginalized, they have been slaughtered, subjected to genocide in the case of Iraqi Kurdistan by Saddam Hussein. And obviously, Kurdish life has bettered in Iraq under the KRG. However, generally, for all Kurdish people, it hasn't fixed their problems, because I do not actually really believe that nation states are the solution to issues. Nation states just are basically serving one group of the nation, and it just doesn't solve the problems of the general population. And I really don't believe that, nationally, we're all that distinct. The only reason that I see it as, important in context is where people are being denied the right to live and exist as Kurdish people, which, if you look at the rhetoric of many sort of pro-Iran, pro-Iraq, pro-Turkey, probably Syrian as well, nationalists, what they say about Kurds is generally, they're just playing up and acting as if they're different. But obviously Kurdish people do have a distinct identity, history and culture,
We're put then in the 20 points, and it's up to them.
Remember this, if we didn't do what we did to Iran, just to make the subject just slightly different, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal signed in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal. Because other Arab nations, which are great people, I know them very well, I know them well, they're great people, they wouldn't be able to have agreed to peace in the Middle East, because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over everything. It wouldn't have been possible. So Iran has been greatly reduced in power, prestige, I don't want to use the word humiliation because, you know, they're trying to build up again. But we can't let them build up because if they build up, there can't be peace in the Middle East. It was a mistake, you know, when they...
It's also really funny because he's like, oh, they can't build up. Oh, they're also building up. We can't let them build up. We have to strike them if they build up. Maybe they're building up. Maybe they're being bad. And it's kind of like, well, what does any of this rhetoric actually mean? This is a really tepid meeting that, unless major stuff occurred behind closed doors, which maybe it did, it's kind of hard to know, really, that like what any of this means.
Wiped out Iraq. Iraq and Iran were about the same power. And they fought each other with different names for 1,000 years. And then our country came out and blew up one of those two countries, namely Iraq. And all of a sudden, Iran had the whole Middle East all to itself. But that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore.
Can you tell us something about your plan? Tell us something about your plan to expand the Abraham Accords.
I liked his lesson on the history of the Middle East there. Thank you. Well done for blowing up a country, namely Iraq.
If you can tell us something about...
Actually, just another thing to note on this topic. Like, what he's saying about the peace deal only being possible, that's not true. It was basically the same peace deal that was on the table for Joe Biden a year earlier.
To plan to expand the Abraham Accords.
Well, the Abraham Accords are a great achievement of Jared and everybody. I mean, it was one of the great achievements. They'll be expanded.
I would really like for someone to force Trump to explain why the Abraham Accords are positive beyond just going, they make peace. What peace have they made? What major material changes have they made in the Middle East? I agree with you. Minorities should have rights/freedoms equal to the majority. It's more like the US will use any popular protest and any minority for its own purpose. Yes, and that's rather an unfortunate position which Kurdish people have been placed in continually. And they have been exploited and used in that way. And along with many other minority groups in certain contexts, they're exploited. But also remember that regimes like Saudi Arabia, like all of these people, make lie about certain groups and blame them for the problems in the country and blame them for protests. It's what authoritarians do.
Countries are already talking about expanding it, and they'll be expanded fairly quickly. Yeah, please.
What about Saudi Arabia? Is it still on the table? The normalization.
Saudi Arabia is great. We have a great leader and a friend of mine and a friend of a lot of people. Also an enemy of some people, but those people aren't doing so well. No, Saudi Arabia's...
What are you talking about?
been very good as far as I'm concerned. They've done everything that we can ask for.
But normalization with Israel is on the table?
They're getting along great with Israel. They will. And at some point, they'll sign the Abraham Accords.
Mr. President, we know.
So one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah.
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're also doing interviews.
Still do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
Are you?
But in the meantime, we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25. Think of that. We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool.
Where's this $18 trillion coming from, sorry?
At the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But
yeah, my enemies aren't doing too well. It's such a funny thing to say. I'm just going to skip through this, though.
It's the highest price in the history. Building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of construction. He's spending more money than...
I feel like watching this as well, Netanyahu looking at him is just kind of... Even he is amused by what's going on. This guy is completely out of it.
In any building...
He's off his bloody rocker.
...has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now, it's bigger than I told you. After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all drone, they call it drone-free roof. So drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building.
What's a drone-free roof? How would that actually work or operate?
But it's a big project. For a tiny fraction of that, we're under budget and ahead of schedule. And they wanted it for...
I don't know what you're fucking talking about, saying that you don't want the ballroom. I am gassed up for the ballroom. How much does it even cost? Do you remember when Charlie Kirk got smoked and Trump just started talking about the ballroom like the next day, and he's like, yeah, it's going to be amazing. We're going to have Xi there. It cost $300 million for the ballroom, apparently.
150 years. Think of it. The Federal Reserve Building, 2 buildings there, they don't know what they're doing. They're way over budget. I mean, almost, this was built during the Biden administration, and I rode by it the other day, and it's headed by the head of the Federal Reserve. Too late, too late, Powell. Too late because he's always too late with interest rates, except before the election he was too early, because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no. We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He said $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats, highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price. So we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell. And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent man. But we're going to probably bring a lawsuit against him. Thank you all very much.
He keeps just repeating himself over and over again.
Very much. I appreciate it. Bibi, congratulations.
Mr. President, when do you expect an announcement then on Powell's replacement?
January sometime.
And will you
Perhaps the best part of this entire thing comes at the end, though. Listen to this.
ask Jay Powell to resign from the board entirely?
Be a favor to the nation. But he's come close. I mean, we're getting pretty close. I would fire him. I'd love to fire him, but we're so close, maybe it. But maybe I still might.
Will you sell F-35 to Turkey?
Say it?
Are you going to approve a selling of F-35 to Turkey?
We're thinking about it very seriously.
And what is your reaction to this?
They'll never use it on Israel. I promise they'll never use it on Israel.
He just keeps walking off, repeating, they'll never use the F-35s on Israel.
Thank you, Press. All right, the president there speaking alongside Prime Minister.
You should check out your background facts. I think you should check out your background facts. What background facts on Syria? What background fact do you want me to check out on Syria? But yeah, this was truly an amazing summit. But part of me doesn't really think like much really happened. It certainly wasn't the one earlier this year where Netanyahu was like licking his lips as Trump said, "Oh, we're going to expel the population of Gaza," basically. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going to become of this and what's going to happen. The only thing I wanted to talk about is Trump's pedo Christmas was truly amazing as well.
Hey, how are you doing? Okay?
You and your family.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
How are you?
I'm fine. You sound so beautiful and cute. How old are you?
I'm 8.
Wow, so smart. You sound so smart.
I feel, I mean, like, maybe it's just because I don't talk to children, but calling a child beautiful and cute is very, very unusual. It is utterly ridiculous. Silent Sigh, thank you for the $20. Trump takes an opportunity to turn a speech into a Trump rally. Also, Iron Beam. Wait, where's the Iron Beam? Where was the Iron Beam? I didn't hear about that. What? Thanks for the donation, though. Yeah, totally not in the files. Yeah, definitely not. His Christmas messaging is always amazing.
Santa to bring.
When he spoke to the kids on Christmas...
Clothes, good. That's good.
Candy.
Candy, well, candy is good. Candy is good. Do you eat candy? Do you eat much candy?
Not all.
Well, you eat as much as you want. Be healthy, okay? But Santa's gonna be there in about 5 hours, leaving Sweden right now. He's taking care of Sweden, leaving right now, okay?
Okay.
And he's gonna have beautiful presents. And say hello to your mom and dad, okay, honey?
Okay.
Okay.
It's also quite weird because I doubt Trump would have ever spent much time with his kids.
Right, I know. Oh, Pennsylvania's great. We won.
Oh, here it is. Here's the one I was looking for.
And Santa currently for Copenhagen, Denmark.
Whoa. That's pretty good.
Merry Christmas.
Hi. How are you?
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Mom. This is Krill.
Hi, Krill.
Their child is called Krill.
Right, I know. Oh, Pennsylvania's great. We won Pennsylvania. Actually, 3 times. But we won Pennsylvania. We won it in a landslide, so I love Pennsylvania. So
I just think this genre of people who want to ring the president on Christmas Day or like Christmas Eve, it's really odd to me. Like, why do you want to speak to some like uber rich guy who doesn't give a shit about you and just wants you to talk to your kid about winning Pennsylvania by a landslide? It's like Christmas Day. Where it's like in the UK. Wait, I'm sure some of you saw this, but some of you are not UK based. One of the most insane things is here you go. Look, watch this. So this is Prince George, one of the little ghastly royals. I'm sure he's a child, so like, you know, what can you say? But I mean, he's still a member of the royal family, so I'm not a fan. But yeah.
Hi, George. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Like, these people are just out on Christmas Day giving gifts to the royal family. That is truly peasant mindset. There's an incredible one. It's also part of a weird genre of like, look at this, right? This is Princess Charlotte.
Are you able to take it, or are you not allowed?
Why would you spend your Christmas Day like this, first of all? But I feel like this is just an indication of what the royal family actually is. The royal family is basically just nothing more than a PR machine. The UK government, the UK monarchy realised, I believe it's under Queen Victoria, that basically you couldn't operate on this idea of oh, you have the divine right to rule, there's something special about your blood. You know, that's not appropriate in this era. However, if you were like, oh, I'm a light unto the nations, I'm this thing, like I'm a guiding force during all of these difficult times and blah, blah, blah. That's how you'd sell yourself. Turn yourself into a PR machine. And they even got the kids out here taking photos. Like, just giving money to the richest family in the UK. It is utterly ridiculous. Girl, I'm so late. Did we talk about Iran? I haven't talked about the protests because I haven't researched them much. Is that the black face Labubu lady asking? I'm going to be frank, Henry. I have no idea. Yeah. At least monarchs are chosen by God or something. I mean, that's in the UK. They don't have like a divine right to rule anymore. Also, thank you for the $2. But yeah, monarchs don't have like a divine right to rule. The reason that people like revere them in the UK, and I remember like arguing with a lot of people over basically, I would argue with people about like why the Queen didn't matter and stuff, and their core argument would largely be, well, we need them because they're a guiding force in our lives and stuff. It's just not true, but that's how they legitimate themselves. But look at this. These are just like uber wealthy people, one of who their family members was a fucking pedophile who used his position in power to abuse women and to build connections with Jeffrey fucking Epstein, and then just like sauntering around being given gifts by people in the UK.
Merry Christmas, Charlotte. You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
That's for Louis.
That's for Louis.
Yeah, Louis. And we've got these for George. That's very kind. Can you take those for George as well?
Very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Very happy Christmas.
Merry
to you.
Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Have a happy day. Very happy
Thank
Christmas.
you.
Very happy Christmas. Nice to see you.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
boys.
Christmas.
Very nice to see you.
Merry Christmas, Louis. Merry Christmas.
I agree with you that it's cultural, and they don't really do much about and that they're basically operating around, as like a cultural thing. But it's still a fucking annoyance that there are so many people who cling to this. What is the point of it?
Have a nice day.
Merry Christmas, George.
Merry Christmas.
Like, this is just insane to me. I am sorry, but this is so disconnected from my life, Like, that people go and do this, that they love the royal family this much. There's one insane one that I'm, Princess Diana. How did you spell Diana? Princess Diana. Diana, Princess of Wales. There was someone who was telling the kids, and they were like, Your granny Diana would be so proud of you. Your granny Diana would be so proud of you. Sorry, I just looked at Explorer. I just typed in Princess Diana. Look at Explorer of Moments. Princess Diana, an Indian girl, 1992. Who is Indian girl? That's a moment that I wish to explore much, much more. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, Princess Diana at least was hanging around with... She was, like, supportive of people with AIDS, right? Like, she kind of broke taboos at that time. Whereas in the context of, like, them now, it's not like they're just, like, radically pro-Palestine. Like, look, the day the king is, like, strike a blow on bloody Tel Aviv, I'll be getting involved. Can you free the RAM prices from Taiwan? No, I certainly can't, but I have some good RAM in my PC, so I don't care. Yeah, I got 2 SSDs in there, and RAM coming out the wazoo. Wow. Designed by Trevor Trove Tales and Henry Walroos. But I'm not freeing the RAM prices. The king is the head of the church, but if you ask reform voters, Charles is secretly Muslim. Charles is secretly Muslim. Charles is a Lawrence of Arabia wannabe, and he's bringing Islam to the UK, in case you didn't know. It's a real thing that he's doing, and something that I'm very concerned about. Okay, right. We're going to start talking about Saudi Arabia and the UAE. So there's been a major escalation, but because I'm a little tired today, I thought there was a video that I'd want to watch, and I think we should watch this.
Month, Sudan's government brought proceedings against...
This is how Abu Dhabi built an axis of secessionists. It's by Andreas Krieg for Middle East Eye.
The United Arab Emirates, accusing it of complicity in genocide in the Sudanese civil war. The case sheds light on the Abu Dhabi network providing lethal and financial support to the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, a violent non-state actor fighting Sudan's government in a bloody civil war. The RSF is but one of the nodes in a network of non-state actors the UAE has curated over the past decade. The small Gulf monarchy has tapped into secessionist causes from Libya to Yemen, Sudan and Somalia, using surrogates as Trojan horses to generate strategic depth and influence.
Once again, I think that this is the thing that I kind of tried to get at to Lonabox. The UAE has cloaked itself by focusing and tapping into Western Orientalist stereotypes about terrifying, evil Islamist puppeteers. So people totally ignore what's actually going on. Like, they see, oh, the UAE supporting, They see the UAE supporting all of these places, and they're like, yeah, that's a bit bad. But they wouldn't see it in the same way that they'd see support for Hezbollah or anyone else.
Iran's axis of resistance, a network of non-state actors loosely tied together under an Islamic revolutionary banner. The UAE's axis of secessionists comprises a network of non-state actors tied together under a counter-revolutionary.
That's Haftar from Libya. The previous one was Hemedti, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, the leader of the RSF.
Banner. Like Tehran, Abu Dhabi has curated a multi-layered network of violent non-state actors.
The only thing I would say is, by the way, like, none of these groups have, like, any local legitimacy, and the things that they are doing are, like, wholly unpopular. Like, Haftar is just, like, some warlord. He doesn't really have an ideology. Haftar's really funny as well. Well, I mean, it's not funny, but it's really insane. Because obviously the UAE claims to love fighting against terrorism. In Libya, when the rest of the country and, like, the UN-recognized government in Tripoli was fighting against the Islamic State, Haftar just used the time to seize control over Libya's eastern oil fields. But no, I do agree with you that Diana was upholding colonialism. It is true, yeah, she's still a royal.
Financiers, traders, political figureheads and influencers to create bridgeheads in countries of strategic value to Emirati national interest. Paradoxically, yearning for a strong state, Abu Dhabi's ruling elite has created a network of strongmen whose reliance on armed violence has done more to destabilize central governments and undermine state sovereignty across the region. As a small hydrocarbon state of just 1 million citizens and millions more expat residents, the UAE has traditionally been forced to delegate statecraft to surrogates to fill capacity gaps. When foreign and security policy
It's also crazy that the UAE just has like a full-on army of mercenaries.
Ambitions started to expand during the Arab Spring, so too did the Emirati need for ways to project influence overseas with a minimal footprint. Abu Dhabi was looking for an effective means to translate petrodollars into geopolitical influence. Ironically, it was the fear of revolutionary non-state actors in 2011 that triggered the UAE to more assertively seek surrogates through which it could contain revolutionaries threatening to overthrow Arab autocrats from North Africa to the...
Also, by the way, I watched that, as I said, I watched that Pax Judea video. I'm not so sure about, like, a video like that just views the Emiratis as, like, entirely puppets of Israel and the Jewish world. Like, they share interests, but their interest in, like, fighting against the Arab Spring is also something that revolves around self-preservation. It's not because Israel puppeteers the world. They're engaged in trying to prevent revolutionary uprising on the basis of the fact that if there was even an Islamic democracy that was not that democratic, it would still be a threat because people in these nations would still start asking questions of why they can't have democracy or choice over who governs them.
And the Gulf.
And this change isn't just because Israel has become more powerful. It's become more powerful in part because a lot of this new generation post 9/11 of Gulf leaders are not their parents. Like, they don't have a strong identification with the Palestinian cause. Yeah, they are the successors of the Janjaweed. But she used her position to act against the empire. She dated a Palestinian and actively advocated against landmines in the military-industrial complex. Did she? Did she do, like, much against the military-industrial complex? I don't know. Who was the Palestinian? Wasn't the Palestinian she dated, like, a bit of a creep?
First of all...
I don't know if that's true, actually. Diana, boyfriend. Dodi Fayed. Wasn't Dodi Fayed a creep? Also, it says he was Egyptian.
Abu Dhabi wanted to contain and undermine...
Oh, wait, it wasn't Dodi Fayed who was the creep. He died. Oh, no, it was Mohammed Al-Fayed who was the creep.
The Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist non-state actors that appear to be best organized to shape the post-revolutionary order. The Bani Fatima. In a federation of 7 emirates, Abu Dhabi and its ruling Al Nahyan family quickly developed into the main hub in a tribal monarchy. Ever since the financial crisis of 2008, the near bankruptcy of the Emirate of Dubai and the subsequent cash injection from oil-rich Abu Dhabi, power has increasingly centralized in the hands of 3 brothers. Mohammed.
The 2008 financial crisis could have done the most amazing thing. Destroyed Dubai, but unfortunately it didn't.
Mansour and Tahnoon bin Zayed. Under their leadership, Abu Dhabi grew into the financial hub of the Emirates. They built a network of corporate and state-owned enterprises that would deliver everything Emirati statecraft required. The 3 brothers, dubbed the Bani Fatima, created a parallel infrastructure to deliver strategic investments in financial services. They tied logistics.
I'm sure this video is good and shit, but when's he gonna start talking about Mr. Beast?
And commodity trading companies, as well as private military and security firms, to the newly developing center of power. Beyond geoeconomics, the Bani Fatima succeeded in curating webs of private and semi-private...
By the way, the Bani Fatima, it's like the children of Fatima, right? Like, that's the name of their, like, mother, right?
entities to connect with socio-political and economic shapers in the region. While Abu Dhabi appears to be quite hierarchical internally, a more horizontal core periphery dynamic thus emerged, with networks of individuals, companies and governmental organizations revolving around the Bani Fatima and their close advisors as the hub of these networks. What commenced as a war against Islamic civil society and Islamist non-state actors under the pretext of fighting terrorism in the Arab Spring developed into a grand strategy of weaponized interdependence. After successfully conspiring with the Egyptian military in 2013 to stage a coup to oust the only democratically elected president in Egypt's history, Abu Dhabi gained the confidence.
That is genuinely one of the most insane facts. That the UAE just basically influenced the politics of the country of Egypt to remove Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, and it kind of shows you a new world that was made, in part after the Arab Spring, but also after Iraq, where foreign interference for a country like America, like just directly coups someone, was probably not as plausible, but yet the UAE then took on that role. And also, there was some positive speak by Obama about the Arab Spring and stuff, and other figures originally. Yeah, Morsi.
To use its networks to remake the social politics of the region. The overall vision for President Mohammed bin Zayed and his brothers has become one of strategically entangling.
I've got to say, Mohammed bin Zayed is an interesting looking guy. He does look like just a bit menacing.
Leads across the Middle East and Africa into the UAE's hub. What China is playing is a game of geoeconomics, whereby countries develop a codependence on Chinese investments and trading power. The UAE has expanded into a geostrategic space where warlords, criminal smuggling networks, traders and financiers develop a dependency on UAE infrastructure. In return, Abu Dhabi can use its influence to gain strategic depth in countries relevant to core Emirati interests. Where the Emirati Ministries of Defense or Foreign Affairs lack capacity to generate strategic depth, surrogates, mostly in the private sector in countries of interest, can fill the gap. The influence Abu Dhabi generates can be traded with the United States, Russia or China in return for great power protection and relevance. Diverse networks. Secessionist or insurgency causes in unstable states inevitably build coherent networks that are embedded in local communities. Like Iran's cultivation of armed non-state actors tied to communal, mostly Shia, resistance causes, the UAE found that communities with a strong cause are best suited to host armed non-state actors. When it became clear that their surrogates were unable to seize central government, the UAE was happy to play a game of divide and conquer. In Libya, Sudan, Yemen, and Somalia, communally based non-state actors have all created alternative claims to territoriality and sovereignty to rival the respective UN-backed central governments. The networks Abu Dhabi has curated are diverse. Nodes in the networks retain a great degree of autonomy, with the UAE content to surrender some control over activities on the ground. Connections between the various networks tend to be horizontal rather than vertical, where Abu Dhabi often remains the switch to orchestrate and connect different nodes from different networks. While much of the attention on the UAE's axis of secessionists focuses on militarized non-state actors such as the Libyan National Army, LNA, the RSF in Sudan, the Security Belt Forces, SPF in Yemen, or the Somaliland Armed Forces and Puntland Maritime Police Force in Somalia, there is an extensive underbelly of financial logistics, trade and information networks that keep them afloat. The security networks of armed militias, rebels and mercenaries are supported by
Yeah, I mean, it is awful. This is absolutely awful. Like, the amount of terrible things happening are horrifying. The Gulf monarchies won't allow democracy in the Middle East. Neither will America or Israel. Yeah, of course, because popular will of the people will collide with their interests. 100%. The only reason that Israel can be a democracy, right, is because it's always going to return someone that's pro-America, because Israel's interest is just aligned with America, which is maintaining its faux vision of Western civilization in the region. And no, we've not talked about it. We're kind of watching this as like a bit of a starter, which is just about like the axis of secessionists, which is a good way to get into it because it's talking about, you know, organizations like, for example, the United Arab, like the Southern Yemen secessionists.
Networks of logisticians and commodity traders. In addition, financial networks allow surrogates to exchange commodities and minerals for more fungible assets. Financial networks also provide surrogates with the means to bypass sanctions and purchase goods, services, and arms in the UAE to support their ventures.
I really don't like this way of recording videos, by the way, and I know what they're doing. It's probably because he had to write a script with Middle East Eye. You just, because they want it to look so natural, you just have to memorize it, because obviously that's how a news organization works, but you have to memorize a script so it feels like just loads of cut short segments rather than a conversation, which probably would sound more interesting. I just don't like the way it sounds. Hello, Cyrith, and no problem about being late, don't worry. Cryeth, sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's 100% true what he's saying. They reoccupied a bit of desert from an old UN-recognized government. Well, it's not just that. Hadramaut has not been involved in conflict at all, basically. Sorry, there's a weird noise going on, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I got these on. Who knows? But yeah, Hadramaut has not really been involved in the fighting in Yemen since 2015. And I ain't looking menacing. No, 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 no.
UAE-based logistics companies provide a range of vehicles to ship materials, support, and arms to and around countries of destination. Information networks of influencers, media companies, and spin doctors generate the necessary narratives to whitewash in-country operations. The Libya experiment. The roots of the Emirati axis of secessionists go back to 2014. A former commander of Muammar Gaddafi's army, Khalifa Haftar, had recently...
He looks crazy in that white suit.
...returned to Libya from exile. In February 2014, he unsuccessfully tried to launch a counter-revolution on YouTube, and Abu Dhabi took notice.
This is actually a really interesting thing. Haftar YouTube coup video. I've never seen it. I knew he mentioned it. Khalifa Haftar. There's not really Khalifa Haftar 20 YouTube video. I wonder if he's like making if he made YouTube videos. Oh, fuck me. Because I really want to. Oh, sorry. I really want to see his like YouTube video. I would love to see that. YouTube coup YouTube video. Hold on, I'll see if I can find this. Andreas Krieg, Middle East Eye. He's a really interesting guy. Let me see if I can find it. Wait. Haftar. It's also really funny because liberals don't give a shit about this, even though a lot of these people are big collaborators with Russia. Like Haftar is a big collaborator with Russia. But yeah, I mean, I think that Krieger's... Oh, no. This was Mohammed El-Masri. But obviously the UAE and Israel are just sowing chaos all over the MENA region.
In 3 months, Emirati money, military and information support reshaped the warlord's YouTube revolution into a full-scale counter-revolutionary effort under the banner of fighting terrorism. Operation Dignity was conducted by a network of disenfranchised militias and brigades against the Emirati scarecrow of the Muslim Brotherhood, a catch-all boogeyman, describing all revolutionary forces that toppled Gaddafi in 2011. Their attack on the Libyan...
I really want to find his YouTube channel. I really want to know about his YouTube channel.
Parliament in May 2014 forged the LNA, an oxymoronic web of militias that is neither inclusively national nor an army in the traditional sense. While Operation Dignity failed to completely undo the achievements of the revolution, Haftar nonetheless succeeded in capturing eastern Libya, with Benghazi as its capital. Attempts by the LNA, with Emirati and Russian support, to topple the UN-backed government in Tripoli consecutively failed. But this did not stop the LNA from building its own socio-political infrastructure, rivaling that of the central government. Today, the LNA is a militia network with a quasi-state. At its helm is an aging strongman whose family has created a system of patronage in Benghazi that will ensure regime longevity. More importantly, the UAE has been able to revive the traditional eastern cause of tribes in eastern Libya. The LNA sphere of influence neatly fits the boundaries of Libya.
Why did you remove the comment saying Haftar buys drones from China? He may well do that, by the way.
Libya's traditional region of Cyrenaica, which sees itself as socio-culturally separate from western Libya's Tripolitania and the southern Fezzan. The security networks fueling the LNA over the years were transnational. The LNA's activities become a major gateway for African mercenaries, as Russian and Saharan soldiers of fortune become essential force multipliers for Libyan militia brigades. Libya thus emerged as a bridgehead for the UAE's regional security networks. Military bases were used to supply fighters with material and lethal support, and a carousel of guns for hire spun.
Nicolas Sarkozy? Yeah. I mean, what they were getting up to, France was just covertly spying. They were the big backers. That's a place where they were heavily aligned with the UAE, France.
Out of the LNA's war into other conflicts in the region. Emirati advisors on the ground were involved in training and providing intelligence support to the LNA, while the UAE on multiple occasions delivered air support. When in 2019 Russia's Wagner network set up shop in Libya, allegedly paid by UAE banks, the LNA's hub position in a continental security network was fully established. Haftar was able to provide Russia with a platform from which to launch operations across the continent. Russian planes...
Well, no. Haftar wasn't backed by the US until Trump got a phone call from the Emirates. I know people love to make out that he's like entirely benevolent to Israel. He literally got one phone call from MBZ and the next day changed his opinion on what was going to happen. Because previously they'd been backers of the UN-backed government, what's it called? The Government of National Accord, I think it might be called. It is called the Government of National Accord. That was pretty impressive. But yeah, one phone call from MBZ. Oof.
Could land on LNA-seized military bases and fly onward to other conflict zones in the region. A key asset was a network of logisticians and private logistics or companies, often based in the UAE, that would provide strategic airlift capabilities. Fighters, material support and arms had to be flown not just into Libya, but onward to other war zones.
There's also a really funny thing. Haftar is so shit, and so many of the UAE's proxies are so shit, that Haftar had huge backing, everything he needed to take Tripoli, and then he failed, and they ended up retreating back to eastern Libya, and they probably would have been destroyed if it wasn't for huge amounts of Russian air support. And then Egypt was like, oh, if the Government of National Accord crosses this line and threatens Haftar, this is a red line for us and we will step in militarily. And they were never going to.
The supply chain of the UAE security network has been widely privatized to achieve plausible deniability. In 2020, at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the UAE Air Force relied on Emirati companies to drop 150 cargo plane loads of arms into Libya, an arsenal that still feeds fighters across the network today. Abu Dhabi has also provided financial networks to...
It's also insane because obviously there is a huge embargo, and yes, Wagner were hanging around these places. They were in Africa a lot. They were making a lot of money, but this was about 5 years ago. I think they've pulled out. And obviously the Russian government was involved in certain places like Libya.
With the funding of LNA operations. Billions of dollars in frozen Gaddafi assets were allegedly released from Emirati banks to eastern Libya to fund Haftar's endeavors. In addition, LNA authorities tried to sell Libyan oil from seized oil fields behind the back of the national oil company through a rival firm and to deposit receipts in Emirati banks. But commodity traders were nervous to bypass Libya's state oil company, shifting the illegal sales to the black market. Still, reports suggest that Haftar's family, at least, has been able to bank privately in the UAE. Coming of age in Yemen. Amid the LNA's consolidation of power,
This is probably also a very important part to listen to.
In Libya, the UAE was called upon by Saudi Arabia in March 2015 to support its war against the Houthis in Yemen. For Abu Dhabi, Yemen offered an opportunity to develop strategic depth in the southern coastal areas, with Aden and the Bab al-Mandab Strait as one of the world's key maritime choke points. Not only was Abu Dhabi able to continue its war against terrorism, including both jihadist networks and Islamist civil society groups and politicians, but it could also expand and later weaponize its web of interdependence. The UAE executed a range of military operations to secure Yemen's coastal areas, but after a Houthi missile struck an Emirati base in Marib in September.
That's actually crazy that they killed 53 Emirati soldiers. It's also a massive problem because that's like 10% of the Emirati's actual population of nationals, 53 people.
2015, killing 52 soldiers, Abu Dhabi rethought its strategy. The deadliest attack in the history of the UAE's armed forces prompted it to limit the exposure of its troops and increasingly delegate fighting to contractors and mercenaries. In 2016, the Emiratis established...
They used a huge amount of Sudanese mercenaries from the RSF and from the Sudanese armed forces actually to fight in Yemen against the Houthis, where after that happened, which is crazy. That's like how they did it. They basically got huge amounts of young Sudanese people. 53 Emirati lads were taken out in a singular drone.
The Security Belt Forces, SBF, a paramilitary force built from a conglomerate of tribal fighters in southern Yemen. With this, and the political umbrella of the Southern Transitional Council, STC, established the following year, Abu Dhabi increasingly divorced its Yemen policy from the original Saudi-led campaign. Realizing that this highly polarized and divided socio-political realities of Yemen could not be controlled, the UAE resorted to a divide-and-rule approach similar to the one in Libya. The STC would be established atop the existing Southern secessionist cause. The Southern movement was the best organized, with a clear narrative built around independence from Yemen's north and a ready-made tribal network of brigades that could bring armed force to bear at a low cost for the Emiratis. A general from the SPF, Aidarus al-Zubaydi, was appointed to helm the STC. Quite unlike Haftar, although far less...
By the way, this Zubaydi guy wants to recognize Israel, I'm pretty sure.
...to play the role of a military strongman. Despite marketing itself as a united Southern Front, the STC remains largely a network of brigades whose commanders operate with extensive autonomy from a central leadership, acting more like warlords with their own armies and law enforcers tied to them personally. Like Libya's LNA, command and control in the UAE's security network in Yemen is widely decentralized. As Yemen's north plunged into more chaos...
That is a big-ass gun, to be fair.
The UAE tried to consolidate influence under the banner of the STC in the south. In 2019, STC-aligned militias seized the presidential palace in Aden, depriving the already exiled UN-backed government of its local residents. The Riyadh Agreement of 2019, though marketed as a reconciliation between the central government and the separatists, elevated the STC to a position of international legitimacy. Abu Dhabi has since lent its diplomatic and political clout to the STC, introducing Zubaydi to its partners in Russia.
Like, these are just totally ridiculous proxies. They have no local legitimacy. They have no real meaningful ideology or anything going for them. They have nothing. They are just literally UAE puppets. Are the Colombian mercenaries sanctioned by their government? Because it's not a good idea to go fully into a mercenary export nation. What do you mean by that? Colombian mercenaries are used in Sudan right now. They're used in... I don't know where they come from. I don't know if they're like retired security forces. Oh my gosh. I hadn't actually seen this. Colombian mercenaries in Sudan are recruited by UK registered firms. This is like a really new thing. Apparently they're recruited next to Tottenham's football stadium. So unsurprising, Spurs are involved. Terrible. Bloody Spurs again.
Where he speaks as the legitimate representative of Yemen. Emirati financial and trading networks create the wiring to support the STC materially and financially. The territories held by the STC are economically lucrative, with the coastal areas, Aden in particular, offering access to the most important maritime shipping routes in the world. After the Dubai-based DP World's contract to manage Aden's port was terminated in 2012, as of last year, the Abu Dhabi-based AD Ports was reportedly negotiating to resume port management. Such a deal would grant the state-owned Emirati company control of a strategically critical trading post, while generating...
Well, I mean, I don't really know. Soldiers of fortune and like people just going out to make money being mercenaries can do it kind of independently of their government, right? You can just like go, can't you?
Revenues for the STC. Furthermore, the STC's control enables Emirati companies to access the energy infrastructure in Balhav and oil fields in Masila. Southern Yemen's crown jewels are thus offered to Emirati entities. Networks of UAE-based commodity traders arrange for oil to be smuggled from Yemen and sold on the global market, with some profits likely pocketed by the STC administration.
By the way, this is also Yemen. Hold on. This is like a Hadramaut. In Yemen, what's currently been taken is this. So this is the governor in Yemen that has been taken, right? It's a huge area of Yemen. It has only a population of about 2.5 million. This is where the Houthis are, by the way. But in this context of what's going on here, this is where huge amounts of the oil fields are. So this is just a huge boon to the UAE. It's kind of crazy. Like, when people are like, the UAE is such an amazing success story of what's possible, when you have no morals and you're willing to tear apart countries with the vast oil reserves that you have, to fund it, and the political clout that you've been gaining for decades and years, you can do some horrifying things.
The UAE brings investments to STC-held territories in return for Emirati access to critical national infrastructure. Pulling strings in Sudan. Sudanese fighters have been part of the Emirati web of networks from the outset. Sudanese fighters supported the LNA in Libya, and the RSF under warlord Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti, sent thousands of men to fight for the UAE in the war in Yemen. RSF guns for hire became a
Well, it's actually kind of a boon for the Houthis, by the way. Having a divided STC in power, who really lack any serious legitimacy, who plan to recognize Israel when the vast majority of Yemeni people are incredibly pro-Palestine, is genuinely just insane. But I guess the comical part of all of this is that the UAE itself is just a bit of Omani land that was carved off by the British, referred to as the Trucial States.
Lucrative source of income for Hemeti in supporting the Saudi-Emirati war against the Houthis.
The Saudis don't back the STC. The Saudis back the internationally recognized government, which is the one backed by the UN and such. The Saudis hate the Houthis the most, but they've increasingly been like, okay, we should pursue a peace negotiation with the Houthis, so the Houthis have no reason to secede, and therefore the Houthis can become part of like a one unified Yemen. The UAE, on the other hand, is like, nah, we're gonna tear Yemen apart and set up like a proxy state in the south of Yemen that may actually just secede, and will gain international legitimacy to do so by recognizing Israel. Basically, is there like what I read someone describe it as a Trump card the other day, like a play on words.
Drawn from tribes in the border region between Sudan and Chad in the conflict-ridden region of Darfur, the RSF was built on a separatist cause fueled since the 1980s. Used as a Praetorian Guard by former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, the RSF has developed into a state within a state since its formal creation in 2013. The immense wealth that Hemeti and his family were able to accumulate through gold trade and smuggling ensured the RSF's financial independence. Using the UAE as a hub to sell Sudanese gold, both legally and illicitly mined, they have
Middle East Eye citing itself there, but yeah, the report by Swiss Aid is basically like most smuggled gold from Africa goes through the UAE.
Accumulated.
And yeah, so if I understand, the UAE is setting up parallel governments so you can legally take resources. Yes, in many ways that is what the UAE is doing. They're setting up parallel governments, but it's also in part for their own interests. If you look at this, right, let's look at map of the Middle East. North Africa. Right, okay. Sorry, I just want to find like a good map that I can click on. Oh, motherfucker. And bring up like full screen. Okay, right, here we go. Britannica has a nice map. I'm enjoying whatever Britannica is. I'm enjoying its maps. It may be bad, it may be wrong. Hold on. Let's pull this up. Right, okay, so Oh, why has it not got... I don't know why it's removed all the names. But basically... it's not got Libya on it, for fuck's sake. This is not a good map. For fuck's sake, why has this not got Libya on it? It's Middle East, North Africa. So I would have assumed Libya was on it, but unfortunately... Well, they have a good map. They have a good map that has everything on it. Hold on, let me see. They have 12 maps, so maybe I can find this one that has all of them on. No, I don't know why I can't find this. Here we go. This is the one I wanted. There we go. Right. There we go. Okay, so let's look at what the UAE is doing. We'll do it via a map. So the UAE, right, in terms of what it wants, it has a huge swathe of eastern Libya, which has access, obviously, here to the Mediterranean Sea. They are courting Somaliland, which is like down here, and Puntland as well, which is down here, which will give them major access to the Red Sea. They are courting Yemen, and they are collaborating with Israel in the hope that they could destroy any Houthi threat to basically anything going on in the Red Sea. They already have an Egyptian state that is benevolent to them, and here as well, they are cutting off Darfur from Sudan. Then they have many interests in the rest of Africa, which I don't really know enough about, like places like Chad, the Central African Republic and such. But with Sudan, they're basically just going to get a huge amount that's connected right to Libya. Like, Libya can just come in here. Egypt, though, has taken some different-ish positions on certain things. Like, Egypt is not so interested in the RSF, and they're actually kind of interested in the Sudanese armed forces, but obviously they're a state that's basically entirely reliant on Gulf money, so yeah, kind of a bit of a problem for them. But just if you look at all of this stuff, down here, Israel will now have an Egypt that is largely benevolent to it, an eastern Libya strip that is largely benevolent to it, a strip of Sudan that is benevolent to it, part of Yemen that is benevolent to it, part of Somalia that is benevolent to it, parts of Somalia, multiple, that are benevolent to it, and it won't have to worry about, like, unified and strong Arab opposition to what it actually is and does. Like, this is also threatening what Israel was once threatened by. And when we act as, like, maybe I'll watch the Propaganda and Co video, because I have some thoughts and feelings about kind of why he's wrong. But, like, a lot of this stuff, like, once Egypt was taken out with the Camp David Accords in 1978, sorry. Once it was taken out, Israel has always been under a massively reduced threat. Now Syria is out of the game. The threat is even lower. Lebanon is out of the game. Israel is much more free to act in here. And obviously Iran has recently lost Syria, a key node in the axis of resistance. It has lost as well a lot of legitimacy and strength for Lebanon. But yeah. And some say Qatar is the problem. Yeah, of course. I mean, the Qatar problem thing is just Islamophobia, realistically. Like, Qatar is not a perfect nation by any means, and it engages in, kafala system as well. But certainly what the UAE is doing and its destabilizing influence is horrible and absolutely terrifying. And, like, the consequences for Sudanese people have been god-awful. But yeah, if you just look at a map of, like, where the UAE is getting involved, they're getting access to the Red Sea, they're getting access to the Mediterranean Sea, they're unlocking huge amounts of ports. This extends well beyond gold and stuff. And you keep asking, what about Algeria? I just don't know enough about Algeria. I did see someone talking about that they had problems with the UAE, but ultimately Algeria wouldn't really have the strength to like stand up to the UAE or Israel or these groups, you know. And you asked about Iran. I mean, Iran already has, like, sizable influence in certain parts of Iraq. I'm not really an Iraq expert at all. I haven't really read all that much about Iraq, frankly. I've read a decent amount about Kurds in Iraq, but yeah. But obviously, yes, it has the PMF in Iraq. What are they called? The Popular Mobilization Forces? Yeah, they are called the Popular Mobilization Forces. But yeah, they are very pro-Iraq. But, also, like, in part I'm fearful about this, but also I think that this is a massively stupid overreach in some capacities as well, and that it may blow up in their face.
wealth in Emirati banks. In 2018, the outbreak of the Sudanese revolution against long-standing strongman Bashir plunged the country into instability. Military.
Did you know as well that the UAE and Saudi Arabia sparked the Sudanese revolution because they cut subsidies, fuel subsidies to Sudan, which in turn meant that there were that bread subsidies had to be cut by the Omar al-Bashir regime, which then led to major protests in Sudan. It wasn't like an intentional necessary, they weren't like backing, democratic protesters there, and Omar al-Bashir was not a great guy. He was very happy to accept Saudi and Emirati money for a very long time. They propped the guy up. But yeah, basically, eventually it all changed after he refused to take their stance during the Qatar crisis.
The coup by the Sudanese army in 2019 was supported by the RSF, unleashing a struggle for power in Khartoum. For Abu Dhabi, this was a chance to do away with the Islamist-leaning Bashir regime and get access to an important crossroads in Eastern Africa. But Emirati and Saudi funding was unable to contain the power struggle, which escalated into a full-scale civil war by 2023, pitting the RSF against the Sudanese military. Hamedi presented an opportunity for Abu Dhabi to back another military strongman with financial entanglements in the UAE, one whose militia network had a strong separatist cause. Darfurian tribal fight.
I guess it is actually definitely wrong to say that the RSF don't have an ideology, because they do have a pretty genocidal ideology against Masalit and more African Sudanese people.
Had already made a name for themselves in Gaddafi's war against Chad in the 1980s, a campaign led on the Libyan side by none other than Haftar. Since RSF fighters had already supplemented the LNA and supported the FCC-aligned security networks, it's not surprising that both Libya and Yemen became sources of material and military support to the RSF. Returning fighters have brought back arms and munitions. In addition, the LNA's arms depots were restocked by the UAE in 2020, enabling Haftar to resupply his partners in Sudan with Emirati weapons while granting Abu Dhabi plausible denial.
And it's also this is another interesting point about how this has exponentially expanded, how they can basically just continue to grow this kind of stuff.
As the war in Sudan intensified, the RSF needed more small arms, missiles, mortars and drones. Abu Dhabi has been using innovative ways to conceal illegal shipments of arms under the guise of humanitarian aid, using UAE-based logistics companies to fly them into Chad and Uganda, from where they are either flown onward or driven across the border to Darfur. Part of the network.
That is a particularly evil thing, but the UK did that in convoys. So when we dispatched British Pakistani jihadis to Kosovo under the cover of humanitarian convoys to continue the war against Serbia. For nearly a decade, the US helped Islamist insurgents in Chechnya, Iran, and Saudi Arabia to destabilize the former Yugoslavia. The insurgents were allowed to move further east to Kosovo. The former reported that British intelligence had used the Al-Mujahirun group in London to recruit Islamists with British passports for the war against Serbs in Kosovo. But yeah, you can, Salafis throwing bombs, how Americans and British planners partnered with Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups at the start of the Syrian civil war. It's a really good article.
Are almost self-funding. The Hamedi family's networks of mines, commodity traders, front companies and bank accounts all coalesce in the UAE, which has become the financial haven for the RSF's gold business. Gold is mined in RSF-held territories, flown to Dubai, exchanged for cash and stored in Emirati banks. That money can pay salaries, charter air cargo flights, buy weapons and vehicles and hire PR companies or Russian mercenaries. The United States.
Also, by the way, this is always how people kept themselves alive. This is how Savimbi kept himself alive. It says Kosovo in the article. Wait, let me check that. It does say Kosovo in the article. Yeah, it says British Pakistani jihadis to Kosovo under the cover of the war against Serbs in Kosovo. He's saying Kosovo there. No, I can't explain the Balkan War more. It's not my area of expertise. One day I'll read more about it. But yeah, it's you can read about it here. It's here. It's written by here. To destabilize the former Yugoslavia. That's a British MP said that. But yeah, by the way, like how Savimbi sustained himself was through diamonds, and Hamedi does the same thing. He's an awful warlord too.
Its treasury has sanctioned a range of UAE-based companies, some fronting for the Hemeti family to purchase supplies for the RSF, others providing the logistics to fly supplies and Wagner mercenaries into Sudan. Abu Dhabi has provided this network with the necessary infrastructure to create a value chain, from the raw gold in the ground to arms being delivered to fighters on RSF front lines. Emirati information networks, meanwhile, offer Hemeti opportunities to polish his image. Amid increasing media pressure on the RSF over atrocities committed in Sudan, including accusations of...
It's so crazy that now Tommy Robinson is genuinely part of this information network. This information network. The genocide was in Srebrenica, yes. That's where they argue that the genocide happened, yes.
Genocide, Hemeti has relied on UAE-based PR companies to polish his image and give the RSF a veneer of legitimacy. Abu Dhabi's broad global network of public relations specialists and media consultants have tried to transform the image of the militia network into a sophisticated alternative to the UN-backed government. These efforts have been undermined, however, by the newly filed genocide case at the International Court of Justice. Divide and rule in Somalia. Somalia is the physical manifestation of the Horn of Africa. Its immense strategic value to global shipping routes and trade corridors into the African hinterland put the country on the UAE's radar as far back as 2010. For Abu Dhabi, Somalia has been a key focal point in its policy to generate interconnectivity and weaponized interdependence. For state-owned logistics giants DP World and AD Ports, it offers ideal locations for...
Once again, we mentioned a friend of Jeffrey Epstein is the CEO of DP World.
Transshipment hubs. But bilateral relations between Abu Dhabi and the federal government in Mogadishu have had their ups and downs, making it an unreliable avenue to generate Emirati influence. The UAE...
This is basically also the thing, right, that you have to realize. There are many people in the Middle East who would do this, many rulers of countries anyway, who would very, very, very much have no problem with collaborating with the with Israel, with the UAE, with doing these things. The problem is expecting 100% reliance from them. These strongmen, brutal dictators, are way, way better for using as it.
He has thus resorted to a policy of bypassing Mogadishu to engage directly with various states, especially those with a separatist agenda. In 2010, the UAE set up a force of mercenaries in the region of Puntland to hunt down pirates on land and sea. The Puntland Maritime Police Force, PMPF, was initially run by a UAE-based company in violation of a UN arms embargo and reported directly to the Puntland president, bypassing the sovereignty of the Somali federal government. The UAE has paid salaries and in 2022 opened a military base in Bosaso, which has become a node in the resupply network of the RSF in Sudan. Since
literally, the lack of reaction from Western governments about this, as he mentions, just how this is resupplying like a genocidal militia in Sudan, is truly horrifying.
Since 2017, the UAE has also expanded its engagement with Somaliland, arguably the autonomous region with the strongest independence movement within the Somali Federation. To strengthen its claim to autonomy, the Somaliland government accepted an Emirati bid to establish a military base in Berbera, an important geostrategic location in the Gulf of Aden. Abu Dhabi has also been training Somaliland forces to further separate the region's security sector from the federal government in Mogadishu. Today, the UAE is the most important investor in Somaliland and is likely behind an effort to lobby the Trump administration to recognize the state as an independent nation in return for basing rights. Since 2023, Abu Dhabi has also increased its footprint in Jubaland, strengthening the southern Somali region's separatist claim at a time of heightened tensions with Mogadishu. The UAE has conducted drone strikes and provided military vehicles to Jubaland state forces. Jubaland leader Ahmed Madobe maintains intimate ties with Abu Dhabi and has allowed the Emiratis to build a military base in the regional capital of Kismayo. Upon realizing that Mogadishu's federal government did not want to put all its eggs in the Emirati basket, Abu Dhabi strategically diversified its approach in Somalia. Rather than going after the primary center of power, the UAE decentralized its approach, going after alternative centers of power, where it could guarantee a monopoly of patronage at the expense of Somalia's territorial integrity.
Yeah, that's obviously the more academic way of putting what I was saying. Do you think we have a chance of democracy in the Middle East? I mean, the Arab Spring was an attempt at getting democracy, but you look how these like sort of reactionary dictatorial regimes responded to it. And it wasn't good and they don't want it. But I don't think that these things are also permanent. I think that, you know, like when the French Revolution confronted the French monarchy, it would have felt impossible. Impossible things have been achieved. And I think that hopefully one day these things will happen, but it is like a long wait and it is a terrible wait for many people.
Indispensable broker. The UAE's support for the RSF is just one piece of a much wider network puzzle which aims to generate strategic depth through a web of intermediaries. Abu Dhabi has established itself as a hub in a regional network that not only augments the UAE's...
And I think also you shouldn't forget that the people of the Middle East have been fighting for democracy, whatever anyone tells you, for, you know, over 100 years, like at minimum, like longer than that.
Limited capacity and status, but creates an organic, self-sustaining system of interdependence, where nodes operate with degrees of autonomy that in turn provide the UAE with plausible deniability. The value chain that Abu Dhabi has created across the region cannot be divorced from the UAE as a jurisdiction, but is maintained by an assemblage of state and corporate actors that do not directly feature the Bani Fatima. Held together by the prospect of political autonomy from a central government, a profiteering motive, and access to the UAE's exceptional financial and logistical infrastructure, the axis of secessionists has emerged as a resilient network across an important geostrategic space. Both middle and great powers cannot avoid engaging with Abu Dhabi in these jurisdictions, elevating the UAE's global status to that of an indispensable broker, one that is able to pit one interest against another while securing strategic bridgeheads for itself. Russia's mercenary and commodity profiteering network of the Africa Corps, formerly known as Wagner, relies on the axis of secessionists to get in and out of Africa. Chinese hunger for resources requires secure supply chains across the African continent, and Beijing will find it hard to avoid key choke points that are now under direct or indirect Emirati influence. The Trump administration, meanwhile, is also entering the game of geoeconomics.
This is also an interesting thing that, you know, it kind of is indicative of most people don't know shit. Loads of people don't bother with the attack, the like path of attack towards Donald Trump, of talking about, you know, oh, well, this guy is just a key backer of the UAE, because they don't care. They don't care to learn about anything going on in the world unless it's something that they can use to attack other people who actually know shit about it, like in the context of Palestine for so many liberals. Like, they're not going after Trump for his relations and with Gulf states unless it's like their dictatorships, because obviously but even that's not a great through line, because Biden didn't really give a shit, and also it's not a great attack line because they're just his relations with them are just slightly more extreme than the US than under Biden. I've never seen Zelensky, Prigozhin
tapping into the connections Abu Dhabi has generated. Through this axis, the traditional small state of the UAE has been elevated to a regional great power, achieving far more effective levels of entanglement and interdependence than its larger neighbor Saudi Arabia or its agile neighbor Qatar. For Abu Dhabi, this network has become the bedrock of strategic autonomy to pursue its own interest, even when at odds with Western interest and values.
I appeal to the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Oleksandrovich Zelensky. Dear Volodymyr Oleksandrovich, a unit of the Wagner PMC has practically surrounded Bakhmut. There's only one road left. The pincers are tightening. While previously a professional Ukrainian army fought against us, today we see more and more old people and children. They're fighting, but their life in Bakhmut is short. A day or two. Allow them to leave the city. The city is effectively surrounded.
Who killed him?
Volodymyr Oleksandrovich, I appeal to you as the president of our country. Please let us return home.
He died in a plane crash, right? Why is it not mentioning that how he died? Oh, he died in a plane crash, yeah. Was he killed by someone intentionally? Russian state-owned media, blah, 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 blah. A Wagner-associated television claimed that a jet was shot down by Russian air defenses. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. That's not the one I could find, though. I can't see the 1v1 video. I don't remember. This was not... I've never been that, like, much of an avid watcher of this. Of course, I remember all those strange photos of the guy. Is that the video you wanted me to watch, though? But, yeah. Oh, Probably Vladimir, yeah. But we don't have the evidence. Tragic accident. He tried to coup Putin. Yeah, I remember his terrible coup. It wasn't one of the greatest coups. By the way, there's a link to the Axis of Secessionists. Guys, I quickly need to go pee, and then I'll be back, and I'll cover the like Saudi Yemen stuff, the Saudi UAE Yemen stuff. So see you. Sorry, yeah, no music for that one. That design is pretty nice. Silent Scythe made it. Shout out Silent Scythe. It is a good design. Right, okay, let's move on quickly to oh wait, actually, there's one other video I wanted to just quickly watch.
Sudan is in the middle.
This is a UAE links that came out 10 days ago. Just if any of you haven't seen this, I thought it might be worth watching.
It's of a brutal civil war. It's the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Over 30 million people are in need of aid. More than 150,000 people have died. On one side is the National Army, the Sudanese Armed Forces. On the other, a paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces. Both are accused of war crimes. The RSF recently seized the city of El Fasher. BBC Verify uncovered evidence of it committing atrocities there. And the story of this war...
It's crazy that guy, I don't remember his name, that guy with like the long curly hair, was just, had a TikTok where he was posting for ages. Do I fuck with fake mink? Yeah, I like the song Louis V. Sandals.
Goes beyond Sudan's borders. The UN says external support is enabling the conflict. It didn't name specific countries, but one keeps coming up. The United Arab Emirates. Under Joe Biden, the US sanctioned companies it said had links to the RSF. Some were in the UAE. The UAE is being called the most influential external actor in Sudan and the RSF's main backer. The United Arab Emirates and the RSF deny this. But there are multiple allegations, including the supply of weapons and equipment. One US lawmaker has said, we now know that the UAE has continued arming the RSF. Amnesty International alleges the UAE almost certainly sent Chinese-made weapons, saying it's identified them in images showing the aftermath of attacks by the RSF. The UAE has rejected those allegations. It says these weapons are...
Yeah, I mean, China, it's also, I think there's definitely something to be said about China and criticizing them continually selling weapons to the UAE when it does this with them.
...manufactured outside the UAE and have been on the market for nearly a decade, and that it was untenable that only one country procured them. There are also dossiers reportedly compiled by the Sudanese military. The Guardian has seen them.
Imagine a day where they get sanctioned. The entire world of the UAE is just sending weaponry to sanctioned countries so they can set up some secessionist cause there.
Reports they claim that UK manufactured military equipment exported to the UAE is now being used by the RSF. And on that, this is the UK's position.
There is no evidence in the recent reporting of UK weapons or ammunition being used in Sudan.
The UAE told us its export control regime is in line with international law and emphasised that...
I just cannot believe giving them this level of credibility is like accepted. Like, I'm sorry, we know what they're doing. 100,000 people have been ethnically cleansed in Al-Fasher. That's awful. It doesn't surprise me, though. The RSF are a very violent and bloody organisation. Why hasn't there been a greater movement for a cultural and political boycott of the UAE in the West akin to Israel? I mean, as I always say, first of all, there's this major point that's worth pointing out of, like, how the Palestinian cause has internationalised itself, how well it's done in English, etc., the way in which people see Israel as a clash of civilization, and thus it becomes, like, a much bigger left-right issue. Well, as I said, that's kind of splitting now. But another very important thing in the context of Sudan is that people just don't know about it. Sudan is a country which has continually had, like, people view it as a space that's just always locked in constant civil war. I mean, of course, that's not true. Like, Sudan for millennia was a rather peaceful country. However, now it is obviously not a peaceful country, unfortunately. Largely a hangover of colonialism. Mahmoud Mamdani's dad's book is great on this, Neither Settler Nor Native. Great chapter in this. But yeah, it's kind of just seen as like a thing that unfortunately happens in Africa, and because it doesn't directly involve a Western nation, just a Western-backed nation mass killing people, you know, Israel is actually doing the mass killing in Gaza. It is recognized as an advanced civilized nation, but in the context of the UAE, yeah, it's on the brink of that, but they're not directly bombing in Sudan. They have established all of these things to create a distance. And yes, I mean, blackness definitely matters. People don't care about Africans.
Before the war.
But yeah, also, I'd say that is a point. UAE leaders don't come to the US and give speeches in front of Congress demanding support. They also maintain, like, some kind of distance. Although they do continually manipulate US politicians to support this. And British politicians. The UAE literally review... The UAE forced the David Cameron government to review the status of the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organisation.
The UAE did have a defence relationship with Sudan's internationally recognised authorities. It condemned malicious misrepresentation of pre-war Sudanese stockpiles as supposed evidence of current Emirati support. In other words, it claims that any weapons supplied by the UAE were already in Sudan before the war began. It also categorically rejects allegations that it provided, financed, transported or facilitated military equipment to the RSF. But is this credible? One think tank notes the denials are despite mounting evidence to the contrary. And this war has changed.
The RSF's ability to project power has increased significantly over the course of the conflict.
The UAE stands accused of helping...
That was a brilliant segment. That guy had about 5 seconds to say what he was going to do.
...with weapons and with mercenaries too. Last year it was reported that over 300 Colombians were fighting for the RSF and that they went to the UAE, then Libya, then Sudan.
They're not exactly going very hard on the UAE here, are they? And yeah, I would agree, by the way, that with what you're saying, that anti-blackness plays a major role, that people just view Africans in particular as like a backwards people who constantly engage in this kind of stuff and just kill each other and have no interest in, you know, learning about why any of this stuff happens. Like, a lot of people would just consume the news as bad thing happened there, Africans bad towards each other, you know? It's not exactly a new phenomenon. You're a rat. Thanks.
BBC verifies confirmed videos of mercenaries.
I'd love for you to explain why I'm a rat.
These gunmen in El Fasher are in RSF positions. And in this video, BBC Monitoring confirmed Spanish phrases specific to Colombia can be heard. We can't confirm where in Sudan this is. This month, the Trump administration urged external actors to cease providing financial and military support. The US Treasury sanctioned a network it accuses of recruiting Colombians for the RSF. One of the individuals, a retired Colombian military officer.
But also the UK government, like we just saw the Colombian. Do you remember we literally just looked at an article? There is, by the way, there is no way that UK intelligence services don't know about this. The truth is that the UAE just has huge influence in our country.
Is based in the UAE. All of this raises more questions.
We know that the mercenaries themselves have moved physically through the United Arab Emirates, and it's difficult to imagine that that could take place without the knowledge of the government.
The UAE told us anyone providing operational support to an armed non-state actor would be doing so without state authorization, in violation of Emirati law. The US has also talked about countries that are allowing their territory to be used to provide assistance to the RSF. And there are a number of routes in to Sudan. Libya offers one. Flight tracking experts say cargo planes from the UAE have been landing there. We don't know their...
It might be good to like kind of give people a bit of a primer of saying the UAE has another proxy in this country, but that's not going to happen, is it? Who specifically has significant power in Benghazi, but, we don't need to know that. Leave that for anyone who has any expertise. This is just Libya's doing it.
Cargo. We do know the warlord Khalifa Haftar controls this part of Libya. He's widely suspected of supporting the RSF, which he denies, and of being backed by the UAE, which it denies.
They did mention... What the fuck? Why would you say that it denies that? You don't need to say that. This is like common knowledge. What on earth is that?
Somalia offers another route into Sudan.
I'm glad they mentioned it, but...
The Sudanese army claims mercenaries have flown there en route from the UAE to the war. And then there's Chad. Reuters documented at least 86 cargo flights from the UAE to Chad. One expert reviewing a video of crates from the planes told Reuters the contents were highly probable.
Oh, it's not just laughable. All of these British... This is, by the way, I've been saying this for a while. You should not be hyperfixating on Israel. It matters. But make no mistake, it is but one node of American imperialism. Like, it is a node of American imperialism. The UAE is a node as well, and a very important one.
The ammunition or weapons. The UAE told us these flights form part of a humanitarian air bridge carrying aid for Sudan, including in support of a UAE field hospital near the border. The denials are unequivocal, but there are reasons the UAE would pay close attention to Sudan. The UAE is the second largest gold trading hub in the world, and Chatham House notes in recent years most of Sudan's gold has ended up in the UAE. Also, access to Sudan's Red Sea coastline has strategic value. It sits on an important shipping route. And there's the UAE's long-term opposition to political Islam in the region. Until 2019, Sudan was led by the autocrat...
Yeah, need to let you know that they've denied it. Even though here's all this evidence, need to let you know they denied it, by the way, guys.
Omar al-Bashir. Sudan's army has been...
Is this always what journalism was like? That's like the UAE denies allegations? Because, like, I get it, that you have to say that. But simultaneously, you probably shouldn't be comparing that to, like, the other mountain of evidence that you have.
Accused of working with some of the Islamist groups that backed Bashir, which it denies.
However true or disputed that contention is, the idea of a SAF-led government in Sudan is a fairly unpalatable proposition for the Emiratis.
Even if it is unpalatable, the UAE told us it is not a party to this conflict and is not in any way involved in the hostilities. But a former US envoy to Sudan argues they have kept the RSF in the fight. Donald Trump says he'll work with partners in the Middle East, including the UAE, to end this war. For that work to succeed, it will need to address the multiple alleged connections between the UAE and the RSF.
This is just like very obvious fact, but we are, for our Middle East strategy, we are not only reliant on Israel, we are also reliant on the UAE and Saudi Arabia, by the way. Saudi Arabia and the UAE deny political Islam, but spends millions giving them money. Well, I mean, most of these people are not political Islamists. They were, like, Haftar has collaborated with political Islamists, but generally, the Sudanese armed forces hold more relationships with political Islamists than, for example, the RSF do, because that's more like traditional regime figures who literally they were abandoned by the UAE because they were affiliated with political Islamists, basically. But yeah, right. So many of you are interested in what's happening recently. Now, in case you didn't know, things have really been heating up between the UAE and Saudi Arabia. It started on, I believe, what was it? The 26th, was it? Anyway, Saudi Arabia started by bombing close to the Southern Transitionary Council, who are the separatists in Yemen. They engaged in a strike that was in the vicinity of them after they took over map of Hadram. Sorry, I'm pulling up now another map of fucking Yemen. After they, it actually looks, okay, that's not the whole government. But anyway, this, as I've mentioned previously in this stream and over again, this is a part of Yemen left largely untouched by the Yemeni civil war. However, and it's a region which Saudi Arabia has huge investment in, Oman has like an interest in it. Now, the Southern Transitionary Council, the UAE-backed separatists, have advanced into here, the most oil-rich region, and Saudi Arabia has been pissed about it for a while. They started by amassing forces at the border. And today, they carried out perhaps the largest action, which was to strike a convoy of vehicles that had been sent over to the Southern Transitionary Council by the UAE. It was just whilst they were in a port, but this is their statement. Pursuant to the statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on 25th on Christmas Day, corresponding with 571447, regarding the kingdom's concerted efforts working with the brotherly UAE to end and contain the escalatory steps taken by the Southern Transitionary Council, that's who the UAE backs, in the governorates of Hadramaut and Al-Mahara, and in reference to the statement issued by the Yemeni Presidential Leadership Council and the statement issued by the coalition to restore legitimacy in Yemen regarding the movement of ships carrying weapons and armoured vehicles from the port of Al-Fujairah to the port of Al-Mukalla without obtaining official approval of the Coalition Joint Forces Command. But yeah, basically, this is what they're pissed about. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia expresses disappointment by the actions taken by the brotherly UAE, pressuring the Southern Transitionary Council's forces to conduct military operations on the southern borders of the kingdom in the governorates of Hadramaut and Al-Mahara, which is considered a threat to the kingdom's national security. So in part, yes, it definitely is a threat to the national sovereignty of Saudi Arabia. I mean, if you look at a map of the Middle East, as we just did, but now we're going to look at another one, it's a far bigger threat, and generally messing around with Yemen, with the Houthis sat up in solid control up here, that's kind of a problem if they're causing other issues, whereas the UAE is not going to be in so much issue. Although, by the way, the Houthis did also manage to kill 3 people in Abu Dhabi some years ago, and the fact that they've struck... Oh, fuck's sake. The fact that they've struck the port of Eilat, which is, what, down there? They can probably strike the UAE if Saudi Arabia doesn't do much to shoot it down. The second H is Hadramaut, and which is considered a threat to the blah, blah, blah. The steps taken by the UAE are considered highly dangerous, inconsistent with the principles upon which the coalition to restore the legitimacy of Yemen was established, and serve the coalition's purpose of achieving security and stability for Yemen. By the way, once again, Blazy Bear, I will reiterate the same thing that I've said to Ethan Klein. I'm not 10 years old. Calling me cum guzzler doesn't upset me. Calling me cum gluz, calling me cum whatever, I don't care. you don't know anything about my sexuality, and even if you did, like, what would it matter? Like, I genuinely, I do not care. I don't care that my name sounds like a thing, because it's not something that, you know, is the affinity of my content. Whereas calling Ethan Decline is funny, because the guy is not only on a mental, a spiritual, a physical, and also a popular decline. The guy is a fraud, and it's funny to call him that. Calling me cum guzzler is what other kids would call me when we were in year 9 at school. And, okay, move on. Oh, no, I just want to reiterate why I just think that that's, like, just a hilariously stupid thing to call me. I doubt many of you would have seen this. There was a video of this darts player who's the best in the world getting rattled yesterday.
Sum up how you...
Just watch this for a second. This is kind of just what just happened there.
Sum up how you're feeling. It's a bit of a hot out here. What's going through your head, Luke?
I'm not bothered. Really, I'm not bothered. Really not bothered. Can I just say one thing? You guys pay for tickets and you're paying for my prize money, so thank you. Thank you for my...
That's my reaction when someone calls me cum guzzler. Am I bothered? I'm not bothered. Actually, you guys pay for my live stream. The steps, right, we'll get back to this. The steps taken by the UAE are considered high... Oh, we read that. In this context, the kingdom stresses that any threat to its national security is a red line, and the kingdom will not hesitate to take all necessary steps and measure to confront and neutralize any such threat. The kingdom also affirms its commitment to the security, stability, and sovereignty of Yemen, and affirms its full support to the president of the Presidential Leadership Council and the Yemeni government. The kingdom reaffirms that the southern cause is a just cause that has historical and social dimensions, and that the only path to resolve it is through dialogue within a comprehensive political solution in Yemen and among all Yemeni parties, including the Southern Transitionary Council. What did that guy do? He plays darts, and he's like the best player in the world, and they were all booing him, and he's like 18, and he just lost his head yesterday, and he just went... Am I bothered? And he's just, like, so red. I mean, he's also, to be fair to him, he's won, like, millions of pounds from what he does. So, like, he has a point, you know. They're all drunk, booing him and trying to wind him up and complaining. But, yeah. Ethanic Cleansing is also a very good name. I'm surprised that, like, someone will come up with a good name. The kingdom stresses the importance that the brotherly UAE accept the Republic of Yemen's request for all its forces to leave the Republic of Yemen within 24 hours and halt any military or financial support to any party within Yemen. With this regard, the kingdom hopes that the wisdom, the principles of brotherhood, good neighborliness, strong ties among countries of the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, and the interest of brotherly Yemen will prevail. The kingdom also hopes that the brotherly UAE... Jesus Christ, stop saying the brotherly UAE. I'm sure this shit sounds maybe hard in Arabic, but it sounds terrible in English. And the interest of brotherly Yemen will prevail. The kingdom also hopes that the brotherly UAE will take the necessary steps to preserve bilateral relations between the two brotherly countries. The level of glazing going on here from Saudi Arabia in its aggressive statement towards the UAE is amazing. I mean, there are some significances of obviously being like, stop funding anyone in Yemen, pull back your forces. It's pretty significant. But the UAE has seemingly now done it, right? The kingdom also, which the kingdom is keen on strengthening and continue joint efforts towards all that leads to the well-being, prosperity, and stability of countries in the region. I mean, yeah, I don't think it really is like that Saudi Arabia has the best interests of the Yemeni people at heart. Ultimately, Saudi Arabia is just pissed off with the way in which the UAE is kind of just doing all of these things that are wholly unpopular in the Middle East, and will probably have blowback by association for Saudi Arabia. Like, recognizing Somaliland is totally unpopular. It's not even supported by the US government yet, and yet Israel's done it, likely because of lobbying by the United Arab Emirates, you know? But in my understanding, and this has kind of emerged, and I'll check Al Jazeera for this, because obviously Al Jazeera is a fine source. UAE says committed to Saudi security amid Yemen tensions. This is just like basic explanations. Oh, here's a nice map. I actually quite like this map. Thank you, Al Jazeera. Hold on, let me check I'm not covering anything. Right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Jamie, zoom in. Okay, so I'll probably move the chat over here quick time. God, also, I'm sorry about my nose today. My nose is crazy right now. Funny enough, you have ultra-nationalists from both countries now going to social media hubs of the other MENA countries and demanding to take sides, even though official media says that they are okay. What, between Saudi Arabia and the UAE? Yeah, I mean, things don't seem to be so good. And a lot of this actually has to do with Sudan and Trump, by the way. But yeah, so obviously brown is what Yemen controls. Blue is this is the Hadrami elite forces. And forces aligned with the internationally recognized government. They have literally nothing. Also, why do they have this bit? I don't know enough about Yemen to know why they have that. Yemeni National Resistance Forces have this part. My God, I'm going to have to blow my nose. Sorry. Well, it's also, you say Saudis hate, you say that Saudis hate the Emiratis so much. I mean, it's definitely in part jealousy and kind of fearfulness, like genuinely, in that MBS seems like a bit of a fool. He should never have invaded Yemen, by the way. Invading Yemen was a terrible, terrible idea. But yeah. If US public sentiment towards Israel sours enough that it causes them to withdraw support, even marginally, could a UAE-Israel alliance be enough to replace that? That is a really good question, and asking a question like that, answering a question, the Alibot, is kind of quite hard. But, I mean, it's plausible, yes. This is like the new Middle Eastern post... Really, if you're interested in this, it's kind of a post-2011 thing that they've basically done. That after the 2011 Arab Spring, they basically decided that they were going to protect dictatorships in the region when the US wouldn't. And Saudi Arabia and the UAE were very much united on that, but increasingly they're breaking away. And I don't know that Saudi Arabia ever will recognize the UAE. Saudi Arabia, I mean, has Saudi Arabia has like a way stronger current of militant Islamism. It may be no longer within their borders, but militant Islamism is something that they've backed. But also Saudi Arabia draws its legitimacy from being protectors of the faith. Now, because they possess the two most holy sites in Islam. Aligning with an Israeli government, normalizing with an Israeli government who wants to destroy Al-Aqsa is a terrible idea for a government who draws its legitimacy from Islamism. But who knows at this point? They also have a way bigger local population to control. And I think it's in the south around here, they also have Shias living in Saudi Arabia in a non-small minority. Like, it's not a huge minority, but it is a decently sizable one. Also, sorry, my nose is going crazy. I can barely talk because of my nose. I must sound so snotty, I apologize. I've just done it. I've muted myself. No, I haven't done that in so long. Oh, I haven't done that in so long. Oh. But yeah. Oh, and by the way, so you guys were asking the reasons that this has happened. This also has a lot to do with the Hadrami elite forces. The Hadrami elite forces, backed by Saudi Arabia and Oman, are pretty strong. They've been growing in strength, and obviously for the Southern Transition Council, like a growing force here might be a major problem. It might be a major problem, but this is currently what they control. So obviously the STC have taken a lot of territory recently. Jesus, that looks like quite a lot of damage. It doesn't actually look like that much damage to the port. Yemeni presidential advisor, UAE has role in disturbing the peace. Make Chris say he doesn't like fish and chips and other British slander. Yeah, one day we'll get a counter behind me of days since muted on a whiteboard. Sorry, but it's hard to know where Trump will stand on this. Saudi Arabia is realistically a way bigger country with more importance in the Islamic world. The UAE is a country with a lot of influence across a lot of countries for like these non-state actors, but also a major boon and a thing that Trump wants to do that Biden failed, but tried to do, is get Saudi normalization. So it's kind of hard to know where this will go, really. Shouty at Babia. I would not make a joke like that. It's Saudi. Do you guys know the Saudi rap song, which I definitely won't play, that's called like, by DJ Mubarak, Rap Sharia, I think it's called. I can probably play a tiny segment. This is it. That is a banger. The Saudi rap song, but it's definitely going to be copyrighted. God, Lemon Mint Cat, I can tell from, you've told me before, but that message, every time I had a stuffed nose, Arabs would be like, you need to have tea. You need to have lemon and water and hot water together, but I can't play that song. But yeah, Arabs were always recommending that. White Westerners are like, time to have some paracetamol. Yeah, I can't play it, unfortunately. Like, he wants to replicate some of the big problems to the UAE, but fails at it. I mean, he tried in Yemen and he kind of failed. It was too hard for him. Yemen's too hard to control. It's too large and it's just not going to happen. Saudi backs Yemeni call for withdrawal of UAE forces. I think the UAE said it's going to withdraw, right? No, I can play like a few seconds of it. STC representatives call a declaration of war. I mean, things are heating up. So, it remains to be seen what's going to happen over there. Arabs just love recommending this kind of thing. UAE PR would be decimated internationally among Muslims if they pick a fight with Saudi. They are obviously trash, but Muslims will universally back Saudi, like you said, for having the two holy sites. Well, yeah, of course, and the legitimacy is drawn from that. Oh, wait, what? Yemeni separatists have refused to withdraw, so the STC are just refusing to withdraw. Saudi Arabia may actually just go on a play of hugely crippling one of the UAE's main proxy forces, because now the Yemenis have withdrawn. The Emiratis have withdrawn. Now the Emiratis have withdrawn. They might engage in like a large-scale bombing campaign against this. But it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen what will be the outcome of this. So Saudi Arabia airstrike takes focus away from the Houthis. Yeah, also, by the way, I know some people will probably be like, oh, what about the Houthis? And the Houthis are still not a designated terrorist organization. The UK has still not prescribed the Houthis, so I can say their strikes against Israel are brilliant and that the Houthis should continue their great work in fighting Western imperialism in the MENA region. But for the Houthis, this is just a massive boon. They basically have a northern state that is going to be reliant on Saudi Arabia because Saudi will have to give them kind of money because they have no access to oil or natural resources. But maybe Saudi Arabia is just about to cripple them and it'll be total Houthi unequivocal victory all over the region. Wow. It is. So apparently, I mean, it's an Al Jazeera analyst, so who knows whether it's true or not. Al Jazeera, by the way, for UAE Saudi stuff and generally UAE stuff, what you need to probably realize with Al Jazeera is Al Jazeera is going to be very anti-UAE and Saudi Arabia. But it would, I mean, you know, sometimes I am part of the coalition of nothing ever happens, but simultaneously, this is pretty significant, you know. Like the Saudi Arabia just being like, get out, you're destabilizing Yemen. Seemingly just like the overtures, like just the massive overreach of the Emirates is going to cause problems for themselves. I saw a great tweet about this. The UAE's business model of projecting an image of being a safe haven and financial market Switzerland in the Middle East is not compatible with MBZ's delusions of imperial grandeur. Someone also said, unless you have the backing of the economic and military might of Israel and India, the UAE is not weak. What? Why did this guy put economic and military might of Israel and India? I think you might be missing a country there that might be far more important than, you know, than Israel or India, but especially India. Yeah, I saw that. A Houthi commander claimed that the UAE tried to pay him to bomb Neom hotels. I mean, these guys are beefing. They got beef. But if you want to see where this beef actually really, really, really came from, it's really here.
Kingdom officially designated the kingdom yesterday as the major...
He looks grotesque here. He looks like he's got fucking jaundice.
Major non-NATO ally. That's a big deal. That's actually a very big deal. We signed a historic strategic defense agreement yesterday also, and that's something that is likewise very rare, and it's a very honored company that you're in. And we're going to be selling Saudi Arabia some of the greatest military equipment ever built. We build the best military equipment in the world by far. That's why we do the most business, including nearly 300 American-made tanks, is what you're buying, among many other things. The airplane.
What the hell does Saudi Arabia even need, like, 300 American-made tanks for? What, blowing up Yemenis? That's, like, pretty much it. That's all it does. And yeah, true, wouldn't be as strongly anti-Saudi as it would be. I guess during the Qatar crisis it would have been slightly more, but obviously MBZ led the Qatar crisis more than MBS.
And we're working on getting that approved very quickly. It's already approved, but don't worry. Together, the United States and Saudi Arabia are unleashing really the most incredible new prosperity together. And we're also making history and forging peace. And I've settled 8 raging conflicts, 8 wars. I've settled 8 wars. I have 1 to go. You know what that one is. I thought that was going to be my easy one because I have a good relationship with President Putin, but I'm a little disappointed in President Putin right now. He knows that. I thought that was going to be the easy one. I settled 1 war, 36 years. I got it done in 1 day. I had another one, 32 years, millions of people killed. Even Congo and the Rwanda, they had 10 million people killed. It was out of control. I got that settled. I have a man's father who happens to be in this room doing a great job, right?
What? 10 million people? Is that even anywhere near the truth of 10 million killed in that?
That's settled. I settled 8 wars, and I'll tell you...
He just has no idea what he's even talking about.
His Majesty would like me to do something very powerful having to do with Sudan. It was not on my my charts to be involved in that. I thought it was just something that was crazy and out of control. But I just see how important that is to you and to a lot of your friends in the room. Sudan, and we're going to start working in Sudan. I didn't think that that was one that was going to be so easy to do, but we're going to start working. Azerbaijan, you know what was happening there? I settled that. That was going on for many, many years. Actually, Putin called me. He said, I can't believe you got that one settled. We've been trying to settle that one for a long time. I said, don't worry about that. Just let me settle your frickin' war.
Wow. He knows nothing about Somaliland. Is this just another... well, no. Somaliland has, like, a historical precedent there. I don't know enough about this. Somaliland has a historical precedent in terms of, like... It's not just entirely an Israeli ploy. It's more of like an Emirati ploy alongside Israel. It will basically just be another country to join the Abraham Accords that then gets loads of Emirati money and is held up as like some amazing example. But it's very helpful to Israel and the Emirates for combating the Houthis, for in terms of like as another protection in the Red Sea, another access to a major trade route. But yeah.
Okay, you don't have to help me. I don't need any help. I need help with your war. And it'll get done. But working with the Crown Prince was amazing because he mentioned Sudan yesterday. And he said, sir, you're talking about a lot of wars, but there's a place on earth called Sudan.
There's a place on earth called Sudan.
And it's horrible what's happening. And I viewed it as being just sort of a freelance, no government, no this, no that. And he explained the whole culture and the whole history, and it was very interesting to hear.
Influence, economic control, weakening Somalia, having an entirely reliant country on Emirati money, support and backing, basically. And also, much more, the UAE have been the ones lobbying for the cultivation, the creation of the state of Somaliland. Like, they're the ones who've been funding and backing the secessionist campaign. Like, Israel's involved, yeah, and they were the first to recognize it, but the UAE are very, very involved in it as well.
Really amazing, actually, to hear. And, you know, we've already started working on that, okay? He said that would be the greatest thing you can do. That would be greater than what you've already done. That was your expression. Is that a correct expression?
He's talking to Mohammed bin Salman there, by the way. But yeah, the reason I bring that up is that might be one of the reasons that all of this has kicked off recently. That the Emiratis are pissed. And someone keeps mentioning MBZ saying the Saudis stabbed them in the back. I saw that quote as well. Thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, the general feeling of MBZ... maybe the UAE also. I can't find this, but it was put in an Economist article today. This one. A lightning advance by separatists has reshaped Yemen's civil war. I probably can't link the archive PH, but there you go. That's a link. That's the article. Anyway, that article is basically talking about, and one of the things it says in there is that MBS called for wider sanctions on the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, and the claim is that apparently that was taken by the UAE as indicative of them wanting sanctions on the UAE. And yeah, there are huge amounts of state-backed Emirati influencers, with bizarre careers that are most likely state-backed. Do you reckon they played GeoGuessr together? Yeah. He showed him a place with black people in, and Trump was like, "This is Africa," and then MBS was like, "No, this is Sudan." What a beautiful story. But yeah, this is clearly like that. It probably has played like a large role in what's going on. But if you want an exact breakdown with a really shit quality map from Drop Site News. I don't know what's going on there and why it's so bloody shit. But anyway, this is what it says. The Saudi-led coalition said it carried out a limited airstrike on Mukalla port on Yemen's southern Arabian sea coast, targeting weapons and combat vehicles unloaded from 2 vessels that arrived from Fujairah in the UAE on December 28th. According to Reuters, coalition statements claim the ships entered Yemen's waters without authorization, disabled their tracking systems, and were supplying the UAE-backed STC. Saudi officials emphasized the strike was confined to the cargo area and said there were no reported civilian casualties. The strike follows earlier from Saudi warning attacks on STC aligned forces in Hadramaut, described by local and separatist sources as a signal to halt the STC's eastward push. In recent weeks, STC units have sieged large areas. I mean, this is all stuff that I've kind of mentioned. The strikes look kind of crazy though. Look at that. Hey, Trevor. It is utterly ridiculous. Trevor Tales. Thanks for the 1 gifted membership. That may well be the last membership given in 2025. It may well be the last member of 2025. Samoon's Kist, you might be the last member of 2025. I don't know what number you are, but you may well be. So thank you, and thank you to Trevor Tales. But yeah, who was I going to search? Sorry, and once again, I'm just seeing that unless you have the economic and military might of Israel and India. Thank you, Himanshish. Bong with strong opinions, dreamer, traveler, living life one day at a time, entrepreneur. Retweets are not endorsements. Thank you. That's a nice one. That's a nice one to know. Himanish, thanks for that one. I just wanted to check Andreas Krieg and stuff and see if they're reporting anything new. What's going on? It is utterly ridiculous. Suleiman Sami, no, you might be the last member now. Thanks for becoming a member. 2 people called... Oh, no, I was going to say Suleiman. But thank you so much. Elab's dream of becoming a member is never going to happen, I'm afraid. I've vetoed it. Interesting. By the way, this is from one of the most interesting conservative writers, I think, John Hoffman. I think he's a smart guy. He doesn't like the UAE either. Netanyahu has lobbied for US-led regime change in Iran for 3 decades. He will keep moving the goalposts until he drags the US towards his desired end. American deference to Israeli interests in the Middle East makes sound statecraft impossible. We need to walk away. I mean, by the way, this also bears... talking about in the context of this. Saudi's vision of what they want for Yemen makes way more sense in the short term and is less of an overreach than what the UAE does. The UAE wants secessionists to join the Abraham Accords, and in the context of Saudi Arabia, they want the Houthis to be part of some libbed out government where they don't have that much power. And Saudi and the UAE is just like, we're going to make you support Israel. It's not good statecraft. It's not a good idea. It's not going to build a stable Yemen. It'll build maybe an authoritarian dictatorship that may even outlast the Houthis, maybe, if it does work out, but probably not. But it won't be forever. These aren't real, serious solutions. Hold on. I just wanted to find something. Oh, wait. We got an Emirati talking here. Yemen strikes simmering regional tensions. And by the way, I don't think that's good. I think liberation for the people of Yemen. And of course, the line is stupid. That kind of shit is stupid. It's like, sorry, actually, A lot of, you know, everyone portrays the UAE as like the best business place in the world. The UAE has built loads of shit that has just been abandoned that cost millions of dollars. Like, for example, Dubai World? Islands. Dubai World is just like, if any of you haven't seen this, the UAE wanted to build islands in the sea, and it's gone nowhere. It was halted in 2008 due to the financial crisis. It's gone absolutely nowhere. This is what they wanted to build. It's insane. It's insane. Like, these people are just up to the stupidest stuff. And also, by the way, it's not just that. The airports in the UAE are insane. I think... wait. Map of the UAE airports. Look at this map of UAE airports. Oh, fuck. What the fuck? Oh? What the hell just happened there? What? I have no idea what happened there. It did not want me to show you, it did not want me to show you the map of the UAE airports. Is that bad? Why did my thing just crash? Hello? I have no idea what just happened there. I don't want to click that again. I couldn't have downloaded anything problematic. That website couldn't have done anything right. Downloads today. No. What's that? No, that's just a pic of a map. I don't know what the hell that was. Pegasus software has just taken control of your PC. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Pegasus spyware. I really wanted to just look at a map of the UAE airports, because it's insane. Right, okay, this is the best we're going to get, I think. It's not exactly very zoomed in. But here you go. Here's a map of airports. Look at some of these airports. Al Maktoum here, Abu Dhabi, Al Ain, Fujairah. Look at Sharjah and Dubai Airport. It makes more sense to go to Sharjah to fly into Dubai Airport. It's literally closer to Sharjah than Sharjah Airport. And they have all of these different airlines operating inside the UAE. I don't know what that is. No way Peter Thiel built his own city. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Bad Empanada replied to Hassan, have you considered creating some original content, after Hassan saying, there's no content during the holiday season. I am losing my mind. Podcasts are ass. News is slow. I've burned through all my anime and shows. Someone needs to step up. Have you considered creating something original? Says the jobless colonizing streamer. Name one job Hassan Piker has ever had that wasn't handed to him by a rich family member. Thank you, Bad Empanada. But yeah, I think my stream just crashed, and it crashed with the airport thing as well. The airport was just probably a dodgy website trying to spam me with adverts. But I don't know. I guess that's probably all of the news that I wanted to cover in that. Is there anything I missed? I guess really no. I don't really know. I think that's probably it. I guess I could just call the stream soon. Yeah. You know what, guys? I'm going to take it easy. I've been live for a few hours, like over 3. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not streaming tomorrow. I would kind of like to watch the Pax Judea video and show you why I don't really agree with it, because there are some dodgy parts in it. But simultaneously, I'm incredibly grateful for this year. Shout outs to all the new members. Thank you for the incredibly kind donations today. Suleiman, you are the last member of 2025, I think. I don't think there'll be another one now. And Elab is banned from membership. Thanks to all of you consistent watchers. I honestly, like, it's crazy how much this has gone up since, you know, like, even a few weeks ago when I got back from Montreal especially, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where I take this in the new year. There'll be a new episode of No Politics here out soon, but before that, yeah, we got a lot of other things going on. I'll be back live probably for a little bit on the 2nd, maybe. Kind of depends, but I don't know. If failing that, it'll probably be the 3rd of December. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, thank you so much. Have a wonderful new year and see you all soon.
150
What's going on? I'll be back live probably for a little bit on the 2nd, maybe. Kind of depends, but I don't know. If failing that, it'll probably be the 3rd of December. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, thank you so much.